them as well. What a move from the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
After a week away, we are back for the British Formula 4 Esports Championship and its support series, the UK Formula 4 1600s, as we go to Norfolk and to the Snetterton 300 circuit. One wide open for plenty of overtaking opportunities and its fair share of drama. We are strapped in and are ready to go. It's myself, Lewis McGlade, not Cameron Roger alongside me this time though. Ewan O'Leary is venturing into the commentary booth for this championship for the first time. Hello, welcome. We're in for a fun evening here.
Yeah, we certainly are. I'm a big enjoyer of slow-speed racing, like what we see, especially in this first support series here tonight, and indeed every week in the British F4 Esports series. So, massively looking forward to it, even at Snetterton, which I'm a bit of a hater of sometimes. I think it'll be good tonight.
Yeah, we've got some tricky corners around the circuit and stuff for our drivers to nail, particularly around that final sector as you go through Bombhole and then down through into Coram and Murray's at that final bit out onto the centre straight. Really tricky circuit to navigate. We'll have a little bit of an onboard lap with a couple of drivers in the qualifying session, which will be coming up in a few moments' time. A lone qualifying session, 4 laps around the circuit. Might be tight to get all of those laps in, to be perfectly honest, around here, which is quite a long circuit, relatively speaking. Then we've got the 15-minute race, of course, the first of which set from the qualifying session. Then the spinny wheel will come out, reversing the grid for the second race between the positions of 5 and 10, and then after that it'll be ready to go for the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, which, by the way, in that one the top 2 are separated by just a single point. Over here though, in the Formula 4s, things are still fairly tight with 4 points separating the top 2. We'll talk about that in just a second because it's Donington Park, Thruxton, and those 2 are already done. So we're here at Snetterton for a triple header: Snetterton 300, Alton Park International, and then of course the Silverstone Grand Prix before we'll have another week off, and then we'll do it all over again with the triple headers: Knockhill, Zandvoort and Brands Hatch to round out the season. Round 6, Knockhill is always the one that causes its fair shares of drama. Here's how the prizes work, of course, what they're all playing for. The top 2 drivers in the championship at the end of the season will be giving a fully funded entry into the 2026 season of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, along with the top 3 drivers all receiving various prizes from our partners in Hoisingveld. So the Ultimate Plus Black 3 pedal set for our winning driver, the 3 pedal set on the sprints for the second place driver, and just the 2 pedal set for the sprints for the driver that finishes in 3rd. And of course the top 3 receive that named trophy, which is always a positive thing to have. This is where we're at on the points. Of course, Jaden Sherwood, who was victorious in the 4th race of the season, the previous race of course Thruxton, after a double podium. Thruxton now tops the points over Matt Kendall, who's in 2nd position, didn't get onto the podium once back in Thruxton, had a fair share of drama. Hayden Bramley won the opening race at Thruxton, now sits 3rd in the championship. Crofton Woodhatch did receive a fairly hefty penalty in the 2nd race at Thruxton, so that actually dropped him down the points, came in, or left Thruxton as the championship leader, comes into this one 12 points behind. 18 points separates the top 5. Incredibly close up there, but an important thing to note, yes, of course, we've got a long way to go in this championship, 6 rounds left, but in the UK Formula 4 1600s, all of these drivers will receive 2 full drop rounds, so that's something to keep an eye on throughout the season. If you do have a bad round, the likes of maybe you could classify Crofton Woodhatch as one, 3rd and 12th as potentially one of his worst rounds of the season. If that is the case at the end of the season, then, well, he'll have that one removed from his tally. We're on board with Sam Sanders, though, who's working his way around behind Charlie Summers. We're in practice, getting ready for qualifying.
Yeah, and it's a good job it's only practice at the moment, because Crofton Woodhatch is down in 17th places. There is no 20th. 17th place at the moment. Good job that this isn't determining the starting grid, which, as you say, is going to be set by a qualifying session, quite tight for time. Just 10 minutes and 4 laps is indeed pretty much your entire time round here. The best lap in practice, 1:57.1 from Sam Sanders. We'll see whether that bears any relation to the qualifying session we're about to see.
Yeah, normally it does to a certain degree, of course. One of the main things to note about these cars, tyre wear is not particularly high, certainly not, even around here in these conditions, not particularly warm out there. I think realistically you're looking to have your best lap on your third or your fourth lap. That's where it's going to come to making sure that the opening lap not too big of a deal. But if you do get all 4 laps in, then well, you need to make sure that fourth lap's an absolute cracker. If you can't get that fourth lap in, then lap 3 is the one you need to be aiming for. Really tricky circuit though when it comes to remaining within track limits though.
Yeah, and I would say as well, maybe in a British audience, not necessarily the case, but for certainly a wider audience, not a circuit so well practiced compared to some others. So it does catch you out on occasion. Hopefully these guys have been practicing in the week and they'll be ready. In fact, they've had 2 weeks, haven't they, since the last round? So that's maybe a bit of a slight advantage. But for certainly a more international audience, circuit not used quite as often, and that can be a bit of a problem. As we see here with Dylan McClements, the session really is on right from the very beginning with the tyre warm-up phase, and indeed just getting around in time to be able to do your laps in the 10 minutes.
Yeah, indeed. Really is a... I know you say you're a bit of a hater. I actually used to be a hater of the circuit. I didn't enjoy it that much. But then the more I've kind of done some laps of it, I've kind of got into the rhythm of it. I don't hate it as much as I used to. I still like the 100, but it's good.
I will give some credit to its spectator friendliness. If you want to go in real life, I've been as a spectator in the past. It's very good to just sit somewhere and you can see the whole thing because it's obviously very flat around here. So very spectator friendly. But yeah, as I say, for a driver, I do find it a little bit boring. But I'm not sure there are many circuits in the world that these cars make boring, to be honest. So I'm sure we'll be absolutely fine tonight.
Yeah, indeed. Coming out onto the Bentley straight through Williams is going to be a prime overtaking opportunity on the run down into Brundle and Nelson, the left-hander where you go under the bridge that takes you into the paddock area. As you're coming in from the road on the outside, that's a bridge that you have to cross if you want to get into the paddock. There's no other route in. Not salty about it, it's fine. It's a really long track from the commentary booth over there, but yeah, that's fine. Dylan McClements, though, will work his way through Nelson and then into Bombhole, of course, dropping down and then back up at the apex. And of course, this long run around Coram. You want a weird non-fact about this place, but it's still whatever. When you start turning right, so from the apex of the Nelson, when you start turning right, and then when you finish turning right, i.e. going through that left-hander at Murray's, it is the exact same length as the start-finish straight. How do you feel about that one? Useless. Absolutely useless bit of information. I was told that once and I was like, brilliant.
Who told you that and who worked it out?
It was the first news I was on GB4, so I can't remember who told me, but it was a very entertaining fact. Either way, Crofton Woodhatch was once the championship leader in this series after the Thruxton round. Obviously had that race result changed from race 2. Well, right on board around the circuit as we go through the Wilson hairpin, sometimes called the Montreal hairpin. Of course, Scary Tree there on the, if you were going straight line from that point. Now through the left-hander at Palmer before we go and get ready ourselves for Agostini. Left-hand hairpin, quite good for the overtakes, but the braking zone really for it is kind of diagonal. You see as it's the circuit's curving away a little bit on the right, you kind of start turning left and you go across the circuit before you get into that apex. Obviously very quick going through Hamilton here, the left-hander. No tyre bail on the inside though, so at least we can avoid that one. Back over to the left-hand side, very bumpy braking zone going into Oggies. You can see the rear end trying to pitch its way around on board here with Crofton Woodhatch before we head through Williams and then out on the Bentley straight before we'll see that sector that we were just talking about there, that final one through Brundle and Nelson. I mean, come on, what's not to love about that? That was a good little bit of driving.
No, it's nice to watch someone else do it. I'm just admiring, to be honest, the sort of special way you have to drive these cars. To be honest, it's such a I can't get on with this car myself either. It's a nightmare combo for me as a driver. But to watch somebody who can actually do it well is really good to watch. And you see the car control. There's no movement, even though this car slides about a lot because you have to. there's no sort of sudden movements. He's not sort of whipping the wheel around all over the place, even through that very difficult section there as he's just getting on the brakes for the final corner. Wonder whether he's gone maybe a bit too wide there or whether he'll be fine. But, you know, as he's sort of diving into these corners, you're on the rear brakes a little bit, diving for the apexes. So good to watch the sort of real small changes you have to make, even in correcting these slides to make these cars go quickly.
That lap did count for Crofton Woodhatch, goes to second position to the 22. Hayden Bramley, though, straight up onto the provisional pole position with a 57.818. With the time left in the session, they will only get the 2 laps. They will not be able to do the full allotment of their 4 time laps. They will only get 3 in this. They will get 4 in British Formula 4 Esports later on the night. Those cars being slightly, or to be fair, in realistic terms, significantly faster than these around here. We're on board with Franek Sikorsky, who's not had a particularly great season, has Sikorsky, one of our returning drivers from the previous season. And I think he topped the practice, if I remember correctly, at Donington. Looked very quick at Donington either way. And then qualifying just didn't go well for him.
Yeah, he's a strong driver and a very regular driver in the MS UK championships as well. I think it was the Rookie Sports Car Cup earlier this year that he won a couple of races of early on in the season in the LMP3. I think that's the right championship. It was certainly earlier on in the summer when he was having some good races there. Yeah, can string a very, very good performance together, but we'll see whether tonight is going to be one of those. Starting up towards the front in 3rd position would certainly be a big help towards that as he now dives in towards the first of 2 very difficult braking zones at the back end of this lap. Brundle and Nelson does that rather nicely without really a hint of a slide on the way through that.
Yeah, indeed. Flicks it through the right hander. We will probably see a fair few times come in at the moment. Few drivers that are further down. There goes Rebecca Morel up into 9th position. But Matt Kendall, one of those obviously higher up in the championship. Of course, second at the moment in the title race, not setting a time on that opening lap. Not too much of a drama, but must get one in now. Franek Sikorsky up towards line. What are we going to see when it comes to the world of improvements? Will Kendall be able to get a lap time onto the board? Crofton Woodhatch goes up on the provisional pole position. Matt Kendall moves up into 3rd. Hayden Bramley then beats him and goes up into provisional pole once again. Timi Milakangis goes up to 2nd, and Matt Kendall was up in a 2nd, now down in the 4th. We look at Sam Sanders.
Yeah, it's all change at the top of the field. 0.4 of a second back here to 6th position and Sam Sanders. So not far off pole at all, but quite a few positions away from the top spot at the moment. That's just what you expect to see from this championship. Certainly it's what we've seen so far this season, and it's been fantastic to have that. It does indeed look like this will be their last lap times as well. So not sure quite what was taking them so long to get underway. I guess it's, you know, pit lane and getting onto the circuit and whatever, just take a bit of time. So they aren't none of them going to be able to use their normal amount of laps. I know Rebecca Morel set a time just in front of the others, but that was actually only the first lap time for Morel, so it is still 3 for her as well. So everybody gets 3. At least it's the same for everybody, but it's just a little bit less than normally. Indeed, for the rest of the rounds this season, I think it will be the normal 4.
Interesting that you point that out, Rebecca Morel. Like I said, first lap time for her in the session. Odd that it took that long to get a first lap time in, and I don't mean that as in, you know, the first lap that would count. Obviously, we had a few drivers exceeding track limits. That was the first timed lap, so we'd just done an outlap. So probably missed a couple of minutes of the session early on. Maybe had a couple of spins on the outlap, but then I think that still would count as you starting. If you return to pit lane, it would still count as you starting one of your time laps. Either way, or at least one of your allotment of laps. Sam Sanders into the final complex corners, and this seems like it might be the fight for pole position here in the UK Formula 4 1600s. Here as we finish what could be the final laps of the session for these drivers. Sam Sanders up towards line, but what improvements are we going to get? This is the one where we're expecting the speedy times to come from. There is an improvement from Sam Sanders. Dylan McClements goes up into 7th. Sanders up into 3rd position. Jamie Hopper now up to 8th. Jaden Sherwood, championship leader, down in 10th position this qualifying session, having a mare at the moment.
Yeah, really needed to improve there, but it's not, and indeed 11th now, just as I was saying. Jonathan Smith moving up to 10th position, and really that time being in the 58s is nowhere near what you need in this session compared to, you know, what pole is likely to be and what was always likely to be in the 57s. Even that small improvement would have got him into the top 10, maybe onto row 4-ish, but it's not a good lap time at all. What we have seen though time and again is the ability to move through the field, so hopefully that will still be fine.
Yeah, Jaden Sherwood's been getting slightly better as the season's been going on race to race. Started the season with a 9th place, then a 6th, then a 2nd and a 1st. Hopefully that constant wave of improvement doesn't mean that we're now going to be on a completely downward trend, although from 11th position on the grid, it's not going to be easy, but with the way these race, especially around here, I wouldn't say that track position is the single most important thing. It's not the most vital. There is a little bit more... You've got an open opportunity to maybe do something else and move your way through the field. Either way, Hayden Bramley currently on the provisional pole position. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to beat them. I don't think Matt Kendall can finish off their lap time. It means that for the first time this season, it won't be Crofton Woodhatch starting from pole position. He started on pole for both of the races that we've qualified on this season.
And despite that, I have to say, looking at the practice times, it's not totally surprising, actually. 4th place, I think, is still a good effort from Woodhatch comparing what he did in practice. Maybe he didn't do anything qualifying runs in practice. That's why he was all the way down in 17th. But even that showed that he was not necessarily on the pace that he has been at some of the rounds this season. And as you say, qualifying not the all be-all and end-all. The problem is going to be for Jaden Sherwood, if there's a break in the group in front, he'll be consigned to scrapping for whatever position it is, not for the win.
Indeed. So Hayden Bramley then will start from pole position for the first time this season alongside Teemu Miller-Kangis. Sam Sanders will start from 3rd position alongside Crofton Woodhatch. Then Matt Kendall in 5th position with Charlie Summers starting from 6th, all within a quarter of a second. Dylan McClements, who's had a couple of showings of great pace this season, but unfortunately hasn't got the results to show it. Jamie Hopper will start alongside in 8th with Franek Sikorsky starting from 9th. Jonathan Smith from 10th. Rebecca Morell did improve late on in the session to go up to 11th, and Jaden Sherwood, the championship leader, starting from 12th place. Paige Dovenbow will start from 13th with Wan Shi Lin from 14th, Mario Rass, then Mark Winter, then of course Isaac Gabe, and then Jeffrey Decker from 18th position. Brandon Loudon, that's disappointing for Loudon, down in 19th position in that qualifying session, but it is what it is. They're all in position and about ready to go very quickly before they do start the race. Who's winning this one?
Woodhatch.
Crofton Woodhatch, there we go, that's the call. I'm going to go Hayden Bramley, why not? Either way, we do begin the race and we begin that run down into Richards. Such a fast run through that right-hander before the braking zone that takes us into the second turn at Wilson. It was a good start from Teemu Miller-Kangis, though, on the outside of the opening corner. Hayden Bramley's going to hold firm a little bit with the inside run. Miller-Kangis straight off the road. He's going to lose out to Sam Sanders as well, who's not going for a big dive bomb here, going down to the Wilson hairpin. Bramley's going to go out wide, going to come back later on in the circuit just to straighten up the exit there. Woodhatch battling with Charlie Summers, dropping back behind Matt Kendall as the side-by-side takes us through the likes of Palmer.
And it's single file all throughout the top 5. Its first bit of side-by-side is a bit further down in 6th, 7th, 8th place. That kind of part of the circuit as they come into Agostini. This was that first big overtaking chance, I guess, other than turn 2, where they're all side-by-side anyway. And we do see a few more moves being made. But again, the danger of allowing that front group to get away is very real when you're side-by-side through the middle sector like this.
Indeed, Charlie Summers and Dylan Clements were going side by side. Summers now trying to keep Jamie Hopper at bay. I think Rebecca Morell gets past Jonathan Smith as well. There might have been someone with a slight connection issue in the middle of that because the timing screen did go a bit all jittery, but everyone seems to be fine and running around. Jaden Sherwood getting past Jonathan Smith and up into 11th position. Get the feeling that Charlie Summers might be a sitting duck here at the end of the Bentley Straight.
This is the theme of the race, or it will be. At the end of this straight, there's going to be some moves made here into this very, very difficult braking zone. And if nobody spins through here throughout the race, I'll be amazed. Oh, we nearly saw it already. Jamie Hopper going for a big side. And there you have it, side by side in 7th and 8th position. And already there's a big, big danger now of a break in the group.
Indeed, Hopper is on the outside of Summers, going to have to drop back in as we go round Coram, almost straight into the rear end and into the gearbox of the 35 that sits directly ahead of it. A bit of a break appearing between Summers and McClements, who runs in 6th position. There comes the better exit from Jamie Hopper. Franek Sikorsky almost might go for a look as well by the time they get down to the end of the centre straight, the start-finish straight here that takes us into the opening corner. There is some side-by-side up ahead between Miller-Kangis and Sanders. There comes the look to the inside. Charlie Summers is able to keep Hopper at bay, and Franek Sikorsky's going for the move.
And he will get it, I think, as well, pretty easily, actually, into 8th position. So nicely done. And now maybe they'll get single file and start catching the guys in front, because they've started to race side by side. Sanders was second at one stage, I think, on the very initial start, but he's been overtaken by Milakangis and Kendall, I think. And Crofton Woodhatch has certainly dropped one place. He's trying to win that back again.
Yeah, here comes Woodhatch on the outside. Of course, someone who we're expecting to fight for the title in 2025. He goes straight around the outside of Sanders. The two of those have had plenty of battles over the last couple of years here in the UK Formula Ford 1600s. Almost a bit of contact between the pair of them as they go their way through Hamilton. Woodhatch off the road, rejoins ahead of Sanders. Holds the position, now sits in fourth position. McClement's behind Sanders. No overtaking happening as they go down into Oggies.
Looks like there's been an incident further back. The timing screen's going mental, so it looks like there has been a crash further back, and again, that's the danger starting towards the back. Even though it's not necessary for track position necessarily, it is necessary to stay out of trouble, and everybody below 7th is over 5 seconds off the lead already.
And one of those drivers involved in that championship leader, Jaden Sherwood, now down in 16th position after, I believe, contact with maybe Wan Shi Lin. Either way, was one of those drivers that was dropping back. Let's take a look. Jaden Sherwood getting aggressive there and sending Franek Sikorsky round, and a big old flip as well coming in for, who was that? Was that Jamie Hopper?
What? Who is that? It would make sense if it was Jamie Hopper, because he was doing a little hop on the ground there.
It definitely was, and it was Hopper.
Again. But have you made one of those puns yet? I can't believe.
Oh yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah. But I can't decide honestly whether that was Sherwood's fault for making it free wide, or whether the car he was overtaking shouldn't have been trying to make a move themselves as well while they were being attacked. But anyway, maybe we'll see it again when this has calmed down.
Certainly so. Matt Kendall now sees the battle happening ahead between Hayden Bramley and Timu Milakangis. We'll go for the up and under hit. We'll try and drag it alongside before we get onto the slight tiny down. The brakes might even be just a lift in these cars as they flick their way through the left-hander at Palmer, preparing for Agostini, all completely ignoring the track limits. Motorsport UK will be going crazy about that. Got to keep two wheels in the white lines. Come on.
I'm glad that you know the rules are actually stuck to in a circuit like this, rather than, well, at some corners you just do what you like. It's fine. Seems to be the rules in some places. As Kendo gets past Milakangis, Woodhatch is going to try and capitalise on that as well. He's on the outside though for this very awkward, never-ending, seemingly right-hander, and indeed he isn't going to get the place out there.
Certainly so. Crofton Woodhatch trying to be maybe a little bit more patient this season than he was back in 2024, but still going for those moves, still going on the attack as he now looks down the inside of Timu Milakangis, picks up the slipstream a little bit from Matt Kendall as well. The braking zone as they flick through the left-hander at Brundle. Was he going to be able to make that one stick? Kicking of oversteer as the rear brakes try and push the car around. He might get a good drive off there up towards Bombhole. Can he get down the inside of Timu Milakangis? No, he cannot. Crofton Woodhatch has to settle for fourth place.
I think you saw a little bit of that sort of more tentativeness or caution maybe from Crofton Woodhatch there as he just backed out of that move from Milakangis. I think he pretty much had a right to be alongside there, but just instead of realising or saying, you know, I've got a right to be here, so I'm going to try and make the move now, just thinking, well, it's probably not the best idea to stick my nose down the inside here, so I'm going to stay behind for the moment, and fourth place is fine as long as he's in this front group. And don't forget that top two are getting away a little bit, so the clearer he can or the closer he can keep them, the better for his chances of winning this race.
Gotta say, cracking drive from Charlie Summers at the moment, who was in that group that was battling behind all of this, you know, when he was around the likes of Hopper and such. He's been able to bridge the gap up to this top six and make it a 7-car battle for the racing. That doesn't typically happen. And it's normally, you know, with the way it is slipstreaming and such, if that top group can get away, they're generally away for the rest of the race. But Charlie Summers, just driving laps by himself, built a 5-second gap to Jonathan Smith and those behind, has been able to close in on this top group and now has the potential of looking at a podium, a victory, maybe something like that is on the table.
Yeah, and I think, you know, perhaps an underrated driver this season, certainly one that's been going under the radar maybe a little bit compared to some of the others. You've got to remember he's 6th place in the standings at the moment, just 25 points off the championship lead, ahead of Sam Sanders, which I wouldn't have said, to be honest, before looking at the points from watching the races. But that is the situation, a point ahead of Sam Sanders. So he has had a rather under the radar good season, and it looks like another top 5 might be on the cards here.
But will Hayden Bramley be able to be victorious, or will it be Matt Kendall? We're approaching the halfway point of the race. Kendall goes down the inside and takes over the race lead from Hayden Bramley. Things still, I would say, as much as we're seeing some battling for this championship and how things are, relatively calm. It's not ridiculous at the moment. Everyone's just trying to piece a good race together at the moment. Last lap of this race, not going to be quite. I think it's going to get a little bit more elbows out.
Yeah, probably. Let's see and hope that everybody survives it as well. But it's not given by any means that they will. 7 minutes ago, pretty easy to work out how many laps indeed there will be left, and just 4 for Milikangas to maybe take both of them here. He's getting quite close to Bramley as he goes for the lead.
Yeah, as there goes Kendall. Milikangas down the inside, going to maybe push up the likes of Hayden Bramley. I think he's just running wide at Riches. Now looks down the inside to try and take over the race lead side by side for second position, with Hayden Bramley being left on the outside in that green and black car. He'll have the inside though by the time they get into Palmer to keep Milikangas at bay. Quite hard to pick Milikangas and Woodhatch's car apart, but Milikangas has more black on the white and red. It's just basically more of a white and red car though for Croft and Woodhatch. The black and gold of Sam Sanders, the green and orange of Dylan McClements, red and white of Charlie Summers, and there goes Milikangas straight down the inside of Bramley. Croft and Woodhatch has Sam Sanders to deal with. I think he's going to lift slightly and drop back into line by the time they flick it through the left-hander at Hamilton, but there comes Dylan McClements.
This is all getting very, very busy now, and it's giving the chance for Kendall to maybe get away at the front. 3/4 of a second. It's got single file though between Bramley and Milikangas, so they'll get away with it, and Woodhatch gets back in front of McClements. So pretty much no change in this group as far as positions go, but McClements can have another go on the straight, and very nearly spin him around completely on the straight itself.
Matt Kendall's been able to build himself quite a lead here. He's got nearly 3/4 of a second over Timo Milikangas, who into second position now ahead of Hayden Bramley. Nearly had Bramley into the rear end as Croft and Woodhatch and Dylan McClements go side by side up towards Bombhole. It's McClements on the inside. It's Croft and Woodhatch on the outside. The more they battle, the more they're going to drag themselves off of that top grouping. And as they work their way through Coram, I think McClements might get the move. Will Woodhatch, though, be able to keep Charlie Summers at bay?
Well, it looks like he will for now, but they've lost this group. At least they've lost touch just for a moment here. 9/10 of a second, they need to work together, and hopefully Woodhatch will realise that. No, he's going to go for the move, so this could be it for these three as far as battling for the race win goes, although some have showed that it's not impossible to bridge a gap, and there you go, McClements falls into line, so they do understand what's going on here.
Yeah, you've got to do it again, like the team time trial. If you're doing some cycling racing, drop back into line and try and focus on working as a group to go quick around the circuit rather than trying to go for those moves. Bit of contact there as Franek Sikorsky was trying to go for the move into Oggies and went into the back of Jonathan Smith. Unfortunately, a pair of those dropping down the order. Sikorsky now in 17th position, Jonathan Smith in just 13th position as they continue racing back for the race lead. That 7/10 of a second gap for Matt Kendall has disappeared. Kendall winless this season thus far. Timo Milikangas also. Are they looking for their first victory of the season? Will it happen for them?
Yeah, well, it's to be just as a good use predicting these guys by closing your eyes and pointing at the screen than doing anything else at the moment. It is very, very unpredictable indeed, and that's what we so enjoy about this series in these short 15-minute races. And some of them, don't forget, might not even be involved in the reverse grid for race number 2. So there's a lot to fight over here in this front 7.
Yeah, again, the reverse grid will bring the spinny wheel out after this race. It'll be positions 5 to 10. The random number generator that is will decide as to where it goes. You're absolutely right. We've got 7 cars involved in this fight. Percentage-wise, it's likely that all 7 of them will be reversed, but realistically, it doesn't have to be. 5 and 6 are still numbers in that group, and so we might not see, like you say, all these drivers get their chance to battle for the red. Then again, to be fair, all 7 of them probably been in the group. It's just a different order they'd be in for race 2, bearing in mind how this has been. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in the race. 2 final laps left to go in the opening race of the evening here in the UK Formula Ford 1600. This evening, Timo Milikangas looking back to the outside as they go down to Riches.
And is he going to be able to make the move stick on this occasion? He's further alongside and right round the outside of Matt Kendall. Should be able to get clear. Can he pull in front? Not quite. Kendall's still on the inside. And they are going to continue their battle. Kendall with the shorter line, though, is going to get clear, it looks like. Will Milakangis still be alongside this time round? Roles reversed, will indeed. He gets a better exit. They're holding up the whole group now by going side by side like this.
Yeah, superb battling between these two for the victory here. So close there is Matt Kendall, the driver who sits second in the championship, trying to take over the championship lead here. He's got Timo Milakangis all over him. Now Sam Sanders is going to be the one to try and make the move. Bit of a lock on the rear end there coming in from Timo Milakangis, but he was able to hang on to the race lead. It's super tight down the inside, hundredths of a second between them. Sam Sanders, Timo Milakangis battling for first and second. Milakangis hanging on. Matt Kendall dealing with Hayden Bramley in the black and green, going to the outside as they go into Oggies.
Oh, and Milakangis just got his line wrong slightly on the exit as well, and it will stack up the whole group, it looks like. Where does Kendall try and respond to this? Because so far it's just momentum going backwards again and again. And Woodhatch is now in the group and very much looking to make some places. How many wide are we going to be on the way towards the chicane? Oh, my word.
Wow, that's a big look to the inside from Sanders. Milakangis was trying to defend, but it is going to be Sam Sanders to come through. Hayden Bramley with a look down the inside on Timo Milakangis. It is starting to kick up a little bit here in the final stages of the opening race of the night. 6 of the top 7 drivers in the championship are involved in this battle. The only one who's not in that top 7 of the championship is Dylan McClements, who sits 11th in the title race. The one missing is our championship leader, Jaden Sherwood, who is down in just 14th position. One final lap here in the opening race of the evening.
Yeah, it's all the big names apart from the big one in this group, which is rather unusual, but it's going to be an absolutely fantastic final lap to this race. They did a good job getting single file there to keep Sanders in check, but Bramley doesn't want to wait around, really. Wants the inside through turn 1. This again helps Sanders as they get onto this final lap.
Certainly so. Here's a look to the inside from Bramley. Milakangis might be left wanting more. He might be down the inside, though. By the time they get down into Palmer, can Matt Kendall do anything about it? Sam Sanders is trying to control the slipstream like it's the final lap of the Daytona 500.
Well, it's comparable at the moment. Here comes Kendall. Middle of 3 wide, is it? Or is he going to just stick behind again? Woodhatch is look at the way Woodhatch is driving here, by the way. Been noticing really backing away for this kind of thing. He goes to the inside, 3 wide. He's looking for second place.
This is going to be a little bit of a nervy moment. You've got Crofton Woodhatch fully on the inside. Milakangis backs out as Crofton Woodhatch coming through in the 3rd position. But he's got Matt Kendall still down his inside as they get under the brakes going down into Oggies. The side-by-side will take them through Williams and then back onto the Bentley straight. Can Crofton Woodhatch capitalise here and grab a podium?
That's going to be all down to this run on the back straight again. Sam Sanders has surely won this race, barring a miraculous error into this section or in the final corner. It's about who finishes in second place, and they could well be 4 wide when they emerge onto the bridge in a moment. No, it's going to be 3 wide with inside line for Bramley. It's going to be Kendall winning his second place back for the moment. Contact made as they come into the final turns.
Milakangis and Woodhatch, Charlie Summers in the red and white trying to look to the inside as well. It's Crofton Woodhatch that we're looking at here in the 22, being able to keep Timo Milakangis at bay. He's going to miss out on the podium, but should get some solid points onto the board. Round through and into this final complex of corners. Will there be any final dives coming in from this group? Maybe going a bit deep on the brakes there was Woodhatch, but he's able to hang on. And our first repeat winner of 2025 is Sam Sanders across the line. 7th champion coming into this, but I'm sure that'll move him comfortably up. Matt Kendall, who gets dropped down, his second position for Kendall. Bramley, then Woodhatch, Milakangis, Summers and Dylan McClements separated by very little across the line. A fantastic race to open our evening.
And you do not expect anything else from these cars, even at Snetterton. It's a slipstreaming circuit in these cars. It becomes, and that's the kind of racing it produces. Sam Sanders, in the end, in the right place at the right time, I feel. It was very much a case of, I actually wouldn't have wanted to lead onto the last lap, but that's what effectively won him the race. As they started to fight for second place, there was no way he couldn't win in that scenario.
Well, here we go. We'll bring out the spinny wheel to see who's going to be starting the second race of the evening from the reverse grid pole. The numbers between 5 and 10. 10's gone by. It might be 5. Will it sneak over to 8? maybe the brakes aren't good on the wheel. We're going to have an 8-car reverse grid. So that's interesting because we're going to have all 7 of those cars plus a bonus one reversed up the order. I think it's Jeffrey Decker will be the one to be thrown up into that. Certainly will be. He'll be starting from reverse grid pole in the next race. It's Crofton Woodhatch, though, who sets the fastest lap of the race, but not good enough to go and grab a podium. It's Sam Sanders who is victorious for the 2nd time this season. Matt Kendall in 2nd position with Hayden Bramley in 3rd. Crofton Woodhatch in 4th with Timu Miller-Kangis, Charlie Summers and Dylan McClements rounding out what was an excellent 7-car battle for victory here in the opening race at Snetterton. Then it's Jeffrey Decker who will be starting the next race from reverse grid pole, Rebecca Morrell and Mark Vinter who will be starting from 10th position. Then it's Jonathan Smith, Brandon Loudon, Isaac Gay, Jaden Sherwood, who was the championship leader. Certainly won't be after that race, I'm afraid. He's going to drop down to 6th in the championship. My goodness. After all that, Mario Ras, Wan Shi Lin, Franek Sikorsky, Paige Dothenbaum, and Jamie Hopper having a bit of a bouncy time around the Snetterton circuit. Just so we know, I'm sure we'll be catching up with them in a moment's time. And Matt Kendall will now be the championship leader by 11 points. So that's a lot of fun. But before we get there, let's chat our way to our race winner because Sam Sanders is standing by. Let's have a little chat here. Sam, superb drive. What a victory. Broke away there on the last lap from the group behind. That was a little bit chaotic and, well, you made the most of the gap.
Yeah, thank you. That was a bit sketchy the whole way through. I tried to kind of play it safe at the start and then got shuffled way back for doing so. So I thought last couple of laps, just try and make a move that you get through with, because the moment you're kind of stuck too wide in this car, it's just like it's a bottleneck and it gets so sketchy. So I was just quite fortunate with the way it came together on the penultimate lap. And then as soon as I saw everyone going 2-3 wide behind, I just breathed a sigh of relief and tried to focus on my lines for the last lap.
Yeah, superb stuff. I mean, look, it's a great race, obviously making up for what might have been a bit of a missed opportunity at Thruxton. 4th place in a retirement there. Was that kind of what you were expecting back at Thruxton, for it to be a little bit more chaotic and then coming to a circuit like this, somewhere where you've got a little bit more control?
Yeah, Thruxton was really hard for me because I had an equipment failure on that one, and so I was stranded on the grid, which was really, really annoying, and kind of come away from that, obviously way down the standings, and you kind of think, how can I best recoup for the next round? And so I've just tried to put all the effort I can into hot lap pace and doing the best job I can in terms of racecraft, and I'm just so glad to get it back on the horse for this round. And yeah, absolute blast. It was great cleaning racing throughout.
Now, obviously, this is the time where I do break the news. I have seen it's already come through on Discord, so you might already know what the reverse grid situation is. 8th place is where you'll be starting. But it was a fantastic 7-car battle that you were involved in, so it's only one more than that. Surely there's you're feeling positive about this race?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's definitely the chance for kind of groups to break away, if especially if people are kind of having too wide action for more than a few corners. So I think it's important to kind of have a clean break at the front and just try and do my best to get through, pick my way through. But I think as we saw in that one, 8th is not exactly out of the race. So we'll see what we can do. I'm excited for it.
Well, best of luck, and maybe we'll catch up with you after race 2.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
There we go, Sam Sanders, winner of the opening race of the evening. Superb to see and superb to hear from him. But now we've got to talk to our new championship leader. Matt Kendall joins us back in the commentary booth. Obviously, you were on the podium both races at the opening round of the season at Donington Park. You now head the standings after an excellent return to the podium. Superb drive. What do you make of that race? It was a tough battle there for second.
Yeah, very stressful. I wasn't convinced we were making it out of Nelson on that last lap intact, but luckily it all sort of worked out in the end. It was extremely tense.
Yeah, I bet that was. It looked tough after a tricky round at Thruxton, but still one that I think, 7th and 5th at Thruxton, you've kind of made the best of a tricky situation there, and straight back to the podium. That's got to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. Thruxton was always going to be a bit weak. It's probably the only track I've never actually raced before, so I was in damage limitation from the start with that, really. So a bit more familiar with Snetterton, so pretty comfortable.
Now, obviously 3 podiums this season. That's great. You're one of, I think, 2 drivers now who's got 3 podiums on the season, along with Hayden Bramley, who we'll chat with in a second. Victory's missing, though. Is this the race where that's going to change?
I'd like to think so, but this track has a way of making things unpredictable, so we'll see, I suppose.
No worries. We'll chat to you maybe after the next race, or maybe even at Alton Park, who knows?
Cool. That'll be great.
Matt Kendall there. Our championship leader, superb performance. We'll quickly catch up with Hayden Bramley before we get ourselves ready for the second race here in the UK Formula Ford 1600s. Hayden, again, welcome. You were victorious last round at Thruxton, a superb drive from you, and an excellent return to the podium as well. 3 podiums from 3 rounds of racing. That's a pretty solid start to the season.
Yeah, I definitely can't complain. I mean, obviously this race didn't go entirely to plan, but you know, for a track I hate, I'm not gonna be mad about a V3. It's solid all around, really.
Obviously, you know, you've clearly got some good speed. The retirement from the previous race at Thruxton wasn't ideal. You obviously had 5th place in the second race. Jonathan, it seems like the second races don't go quite as good as the first races on the evening. Is that going to change tonight?
Well, I'm trying to hope so, yeah. Thruxton's a weird one. Donington was just sort of feeling out the field as well. You know, everything was quite new. But I've got a good gauge on, you know, how everyone's driving, what everyone likes to do, how everyone decides when to attack and everything. Yeah, so I'm feeling a lot better about this, and it's not as sketchy as, you know, Thruxton was, even though this race was a little bit sketchier than the Thruxton race was. I think this is going to be like a better opportunity to move through the field than the previous 2 rounds.
But it's got to be quite entertaining. Obviously, a 7-car fight. There's not many championships in sim racing where you see a 7-car fight for the race lead, basically from lap 1 all the way up to the end of the race. It's got to be entertaining to be in the middle of.
Well, part entertaining, part extremely stressful. You know, it's hard because it's not very traditional racing because of how draft locked it is. It's so much the mental game of it and trying to understand what people are doing. You know, and you get caught off guard by some people and you get pleasantly surprised by some people. But yeah, it's just it's fun, but it's also very, very hard on the head.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Obviously, yeah, you're now second in the championship, right in the middle of the championship fight. Best of luck in the next race, keeping it out of trouble. Maybe we'll have 2 podiums on back-to-back races.
Hopefully. Thank you very much.
There we go. Hayden Bramley, like I said, right up there in the title race. We've got 4 minutes left of this practice session. We are almost ready to go for the second race of the evening. Great first race. Great groundwork made there by our UK Formula Ford field. But can they do it again?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult to have a big group like that for the lead 2 times in a row. We've seen a couple of times this season in both championships, actually, where somebody has gone off on their own and won the race by a few seconds out front. I think the likelihood of that not happening both times is probably quite low. So I do suspect somebody will get away out front, especially considering it was a top 7, wasn't it, for that race mostly. It's effectively just that top 7 reversed with 1 other on pole. So it's effectively the same group again. All 7 of those, I think, were capable, certainly quick enough to actually break away like that. So I wouldn't be so surprised if there was a winner on their own, if you like, and then a battle for the other podium places.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot on this championship over the last 2 years, the UK Formula Ford 1600s, and of course 3 years in the British Formula 4. I've always said there's a rule of how many drivers you can have involved in a battle. It always ends up being 6 is the maximum number. Past that, it lasts for about half a lap, and then you get chaos. That race we got 7, so yeah, maybe the rule doesn't necessarily exist. Spare a thought, though, for Jeffrey Decker, though, who grabs his first top 10 of the season and now will be starting from reverse grid pole with that battle pack behind. That's got to be a bit nervy.
Yeah, that's a scary place to find yourself at the front. Certainly, I wouldn't want to be there. That's for sure. It's because it's, you know, so close quarters racing here, and the margin for error in terms of the actual things that you can get wrong, and then the consequences after it are quite severe. So it's not an enviable place to be in at all. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually lets a few go, to be honest, in that first lap, and just thinks, you know, I don't want to be here. Let's just let a few of these maniacs past.
Or maybe it's time to turn the banter scale all the way up to 10 and just give it a go. You know, why not? I will talk briefly on the championship. I did mention before there the updated points of championship after that race. Matt Kendall was your championship leader on 160 points. He's 11 clear of Hayden Bramley. Crofton Woodhatch and Sam Sanders are both on 144, so they're locked on the same amount of points. Timo Miller-Kangas, Jaden Sherwood though, with what was it, 14th position in that race, drops down to 6th in the standings. It's got to be a bit of a tough hit for somebody who went so strongly at Thruxton.
Yeah, and also it's not, you know, it's race one as well, I think, which is what makes it worse, because you've got to sort of come back from that, not only in the rest of race one, but also in race two as well. It's not like there's a full reverse grid to put you back up towards the front to sort of redeem yourself. You've got to do it all yourself, which I do like in a way. I'm glad we don't reverse the whole grid in this series. So it does mean he's got a lot of work ahead of him, but if he wants to save his season, then he'll have to, because yes, there are 2 drop rounds. You don't want bad drop rounds though, because it gives you no safety net to fall back on in those last rounds, which will make you feel a lot more nervous than if you've got some good drop rounds that you're taking away from your score.
100%. I think looking at the previous 2 seasons, if you look at those that are right up there in the championship, yeah, I think I mean, Henry Moore's the best example, as we can see them out in practice. Pretty sure Henry Moore's worst result over the whole season was in the last race. I think he retired the last race, and I think the other 15 races he was on the podium. So, you know, there's someone that could teach you how to drive a Formula Ford around here. He's someone that knows what he's doing. He's obviously getting ready for the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. And I think he's fresh received his, he's passed his driving test as well. It's scary having all these young people around, isn't it?
What?
Yeah, right.
17, and he's doing all that.
Scary, isn't it?
Or is he late?
No, he's 17.
17?
Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't doing that when I was 17, that's for sure.
What's it, mate?
Driving test either, in fairness.
No. No, same. I didn't pass until I was 25.
you were doing a lot more in sim racing than you were in real life, actually. He's doing both, so there you go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Maniac on the racetrack and on the roads and on the kart track, and just everywhere. Cracking speed though. So we'll see in that lot coming up, of course, later on in the evening in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Now it's almost time for me to take a deep breath and run through this grid as quick as we can, because we don't have long before this race. Only 60 seconds to get through the 19 cars on the grid. It's Jeffrey Decker starting from reverse grid pole with Dylan McClements, Charlie Summers, Timo Miller-Kangas, Crofton Woodhatch, and Hayden Bramley, along with Matt Kendall and Sam Sanders, who were in that 7-car fight for the previous race victory. Rebecca Morell will start from 9th position, with Mark Winter starting from 10th. Jonathan Smith from 11th, and Brandon Loudon from 12th position. Isaac Gade, then Jaden Sherwood, the championship leader, coming into this round. Obviously not into this race. Mario Ras, Wan Shi Lin, Frank Sikorsky, Paige Dopenbauer in 18th position. The final driver was Jamie Hopper after an instant going into Oggies. They are almost fully in position and ready to go. Very quickly, pick a driver out of the hat. Ewan O'Leary, who's winning this race?
I'm going to go for Miller-Kangas. Why not?
Oh, I'm going to take your one for. I'm going to take your bet from the previous one and go with the number 22, Crofton Woodhatch. We are awaiting for one driver, which is Hayden Bramley, to put himself into position. There he is, 15 minutes onto the clock, ready to go racing for the second time this evening in the UK Formula 4 1600, with Jeffrey Decker starting from pole position ahead of 7 cars that were all battling for victory in the previous race. It begins down into Richards with a perfect start, of course, as you'd expect from our pollster to there. Straight into the slipstream comes Dylan McClements, looks to the outside going into Richards. Is he going to go full send around the outside? The answer to the question is absolutely yes. Will he keep within track limits? Just about, as we go through Richards, then down into Wilson, the opening hairpin, of course, around the real first braking zone, the first test for the drivers. And Decker, well, he's not letting anyone go here. He is keeping his elbows out, trying to hang on to the race lead.
Yeah, because I guess there's no sort of half way of doing this. If you're going to let people through, you sort of have to let the whole field through and get out of this, or you battle at the front, try and stay out front where it's a little bit less chaotic for now, and that's what he's decided to do. And it is probably the right call. As they come down towards Agostini, he's now defending this place as well. He's definitely here to stay, and it's a good idea as well, because, as I say, it's either got to be right at the very front or right at the very back. The midfield is just going to be trouble.
That was Jaden Sherwood off the road going through Agostini. We keep our eye on Jeffrey Decker, 0.4 of a second up to Dylan McClements. Charlie Summers being passed by Timi Milikangas, who gets around the outside going into Og. He's got to say, love this livery on Jeffrey Decker, mostly because the obviously the bright yellow, lime green Valentino Rossi yellow highlights. You know what I'm like. You're sat there being like it's disgusting, but that's fine. You probably prefer Dylan McClements' car because it's not quite Manthey Porsche. There's a bit too much orange on it, isn't there?
No, it's a bit like that BMW Z4 that used to be in British GT, which I absolutely loved. Anyway,
classic.
As I'm sure
it's only because it's a Z4 though.
Oh, I don't. It wouldn't on every other car, rubbish livery, but on that one, yeah, great. That's mine. You are right. I'm not a particular fan of that one. I must say. You know me too well. That is not great. I know what you're looking for when it comes to liveries, and we are not aligned. One lap down though in the second race here, in the final race of the UK Formula 4 1600 before we get ready for British Formula 4 Esports action as the slipstream games begin. Obviously, Jeffrey Decker's going back on the attack. He's been able to keep up with Dylan McClements using that slipstream. No major casualties in the train at the moment. A little bit of a break between the back of Sam Sanders and the front of Rebecca Morel, but not enough that she's not getting slipstream back there in 9th position. Surprisingly single file, I would say, at the very front for a reverse grid race. But as I said just before it, the top 8 effectively the same as the big battle for the lead earlier. So you can, I guess, understand a little bit why they're a bit nervous of fighting, and they're just sort of waiting for the latter portion of the race because they know that any sort of fighting at this stage will just get them off the back of the group. Even Jeffrey Decker's taking his time at the moment in second position, despite being the only driver in this front group who wasn't there in the first race around as well. It's really helping the whole field to stay together.
Mark Winter and Jonathan Smith, I think we're going side by side at the back end of the top 10. Winter's able to keep Smith at bay. Brandon Loudon's trying to work his way through the field as well, somebody we know can be in this group and battling up here. Brandon Loudon's proven that a few times over the last season and a bit. Slow run coming out through Charlie Summers and Timi Milikangas right over the rear end, along with Crofton Woodhatch. 5 cars separated by half a second as we run down the Bentley straight into Brundle and Nelson. Here comes a look to the inside from Jeffrey Decker, who's attacking for the race lead. Bit of a look coming in from Charlie Summers, who's into the rear end of Decker. There comes some contact with Timi Milikangas trying to get down the inside, also making it too wide down the inside. Comes Hayden Bramley on Crofton Woodhatch. Charlie Summers and Timi Milikangas go side by side as well for 3rd position. The top 2 are starting to get away a little bit.
Yeah, first signs of trouble for the rest of the group with McClements and Decker getting away like that. Nearly a
completed though by the time they get onto the brakes and flick it through the left-hander at Palmer. Will Summers drop back into line? No, he will not. Lead it down the inside in the white and red car. Bit of contact with Crofton Woodhatch. He's going to go off the road here. He's going to be able to catch it, but he's going to lose a whole host of positions.
Yeah, absolutely. Not ideal at all for Crofton Woodhatch in the... in this lap of the race, and he's going to get hit. 3 wide moment as they were coming towards the hairpin. He's going to get away with it. Has he got damage? He might well do, but that was big contact.
Yeah, certainly so. Crofton Woodhatch getting absolutely pile drived, unfortunately, in the middle of all of that. Not 100% sure as to who it was that sent it down the inside. I think it might have been Jonathan Smith, who misjudged the brakes a bit there and slammed into the side of one of our top drivers in this championship. And it seems as though Crofton Woodhatch, like I say, I would be amazed if that car doesn't have some pretty significant damage. There comes a look down the inside from Summers. Let's take a look once more at this.
It's just a misjudgment on the inside, isn't it? And he'd be shocked if he gets away with that. Woodhatch, he's still carrying on in 15th at the moment, but we'll see whether that will last for the remainder of this race or not. We will find out, but yeah, just a misjudgment on the inside. Oh, again, I said that the midfield is going to be the danger zone, and Woodhatch's mistakes put him into that danger zone, and eventually he's been collected there, so not the best look in the last couple of weeks.
Certainly not. Wow, I'll tell you someone who's looking pretty good at the moment, Dylan McClements, who's having a real a turnaround evening on his championship at the moment. Starts to run away from things, a second clear of Timi Milikangas, who might be just getting those final little bits of slipstream off of our race leader. There's Jeffrey Decker looking to the inside on Hayden Bramley, also defending a touch from Matt Kendall. Sam Sanders sat there in 7th position. obviously ready to pounce on any opportunity. Rebecca Morel back in the fight. Brandon Loudon back in the fight as well. It's a tough train behind with some side-by-side there for 5th position, Decker and Kendall.
Well, I guess maybe not surprising, but notable that Sanders hasn't made too much progress from the start of this race yet. Still in the 7th place at the moment. As Kendall and Decker continue their fight, he'll try and take advantage of that. And they now come towards the left-hander at Hamilton. And we'll see who pops out the other side with the position in a moment. But again, another bit of danger here as far as letting the leaders get away with that race-winning battle.
Yeah, certainly so. It's, like I say, some gaps are indeed appearing around the field, but I think that gap for the race lead, by the way, is closing. I think Timi Miller-Kangas might be able to close it down, but then it all depends on Charlie Summers and Hayden Bramley here, if they're able to read the situation and think, right, if I remain here, but I don't attack Miller-Kangas, that gap is coming down, we will be in the lead battle if we let this unfold. It's going to get easier for Miller-Kangas now, who gets below 3/4 of a second. Now the slipstream's going to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. We might well get a 4-way fight for the race leaders. Matt Kendall in 5th position. I don't think he's going to be quite able to bridge the gap, especially if he's not being fought by Jeffrey Decker pretty consistently around this Snetterton circuit.
Yeah, it's going to be a front four for sure, but we'll see whether any of those can bridge in the next couple of moments. With 4 laps to go, 7 minutes just less than 7 minutes, 4 laps to go in this race. There goes Sanders on Decker in the background. He suspects he does need to make that move, but Decker's not going to let him have it on the inside line. And in fact, Sanders is going to go backwards. Rebecca Morel will get through. So does Brandon Loudon. Sanders going backwards, and it's all happening back there. Loudon now challenging Morel as well. It's I'm not sure what's happening, but all changed back there. Not good for Sanders.
Yeah, certainly so. It's getting quite close in that fight for 7th position. But like we say, I think to be fair, I think Matt Kendall would have actually wanted Sam Sanders to get ahead, because I think they could have worked together to try and bridge that gap. This is back with Brandon Loudon in the yellow, white and blue car. Sanders is looking to the outside into Agostini. He's going to try and go straight around the outside, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to complete that one. It's going to be a bit of a brave one if he can get to the outside. There's someone in the background. Oh, it's Crofton Woodhatch. The round gets worse and worse, unfortunately.
And he's now actually dead last in this race, such as the lack of trouble that people have been having so far. There is nobody behind him anymore. He's got to take this as a drop round, but again, it doesn't matter for now, but it's the safety net later on the season that he'll be missing.
Yeah, indeed. There's another look. Jonathan Smith into Crofton Woodhatch. That was earlier on in the race. This is how Crofton Woodhatch went around. He's battling with Franek Sikorsky, made contact. I think with the damage on his car, it was probably quite easy to spin. Pretty fragile in that point of the race, down to 19th position. A shame for Woodhatch. Terrible luck for him in the opening stages of the second race here at Snetterton. The top 4 have got away from the rest of the field. And like you say, the question is, can Matt Kendall close down? I think he might be able to, you know. I think he might drag Jeffrey Decker with him, but if they don't battle and this lot do, I wouldn't necessarily rule out Matt Kendall from being a part of this fight.
Yeah, maybe. I suppose if they do fight, then it's sort of inevitable, isn't it? We'll see. I guess, you know, there's no question mark about whether they will fight. It's just when. It looks like Miller-Kangas has decided now is the moment. Dylan McClements has been leading this race for a very long time, and Timo Miller-Kangas wants to take that off him now. He's very tight to him on the way towards turn 2, and he's going to get edged out there. Is he? Oh, still close. He's still on the inside as well, and that's why he so wants to keep this position. He wants to get down the inside at this next left-hander. In fact, the next 3 all going to the left, all with him on the inside.
2 of our feistiest competitors in this championship going side by side for the race lead, ahead of Hayden Bramley, the driver who sits 2nd of the championship. We caught up with him in the previous at the end of the previous races, looking for another victory, looking for his first podium in race 2 of a race evening, and he's going to sneak his way through into the race lead. Miller-Kangas on the outside, bit of bumping from Dylan McClements onto the rear end of the 26. This is going to end in tears, Ewan, I'm sure.
Yeah, I thought it was, but I think they might get away with it now. Miller-Kangas and McClemens were certainly going to take each other off and then shout at each other after the race, I would imagine, because they were both banging into each other, and they would have both blamed each other as well for whatever crash happened, but they get away with it this time. It's going to be 3 wide on the way towards front. Oh, even if they make it, that is.
My goodness, so close. They go 3 wide. They're all over the circuit. Straight around the outside comes McClements. He's got the inside as he works their way through Nelson. Now down towards Bomho. It's Milikangas on the outside. Hayden Bramley backing out of the 3 wide, but still staring at this battle ahead, thinking about where his opportunity comes from. It is now 6 to the race lead as McClements leads from Milikangas, from Bramley, from Summers, from Kendall, from Decker as well, who from reverse grid pole is back in the fight for victory with 3 minutes and 15 seconds left to go. Just 2 laps left around this Snetterton 300 circuit here in the UK Formula Ford 1600 Esports Championship.
And forget about just Kendall catching up to these guys, by the way. The whole top 13 are in this group now because there are no gaps more than a second until you get to Pace Buff down the... yeah, there you go. You see it in the background. A big gap there, but before that, absolutely nothing. Milikangas and McClements again. See if they take each other off this time round.
Yeah, let's see what it's going to be like. Once again, side by side through the Wilson hairpin. Side by side will potentially take them all the way up into Palmer. Certainly so. Good exit once again from Timu Milikangas, who remains down the inside of Dylan McClements, who goes around the outside at Palmer. Hayden Bramley might be able to make this 3 wide, but surely he won't down into Agostini. There is going to be no opportunity opened up for him. He lifts out, but that could allow Charlie Summers to go for a look. McClements tries to go for the up and under, but that door was almost slotted in by Hayden Bramley. Summers around the outside of Bramley here for 3rd.
I mean, if McClements and Milikangas make it to the end of this race, I'll be quite astonished, actually, the way they're racing with one another. The rest of them behind, cleanly at the moment, very little contact, but so far that front 2 really at each other in the battle for the race lead, and you just hope that it's not going to be a big problem for the rest. Milikangas has now got a black flag. He must have had too much contact throughout this race, and that is only going to encourage him further to crash into McClements.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame for Timu Milikangas then, who I believe must return to the pit lane. Here comes McClements to the outside. He's going to go full send around there, taking all the risk around the outside of Brundle to the inside of Nelson, and he's worked his way through into the race lead. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go. Final lap just ahead of us. What are we going to see on this final lap of the Snetterton 300 circuit? You're absolutely right with how tight this battle for the race lead is. 5 of them with a second, but then that gap does not get particularly large. 3 seconds separates the top 13 drivers.
And you'd have to say that anyone in the top half of that can win it from here. Nobody has gotten away like what we saw with Sam Sanders in the first race. It's McClements and Milikangas who are holding up the entire group, and Milikangas is carrying on anyway. He said, I want to win this circuit, this race on the road, and then protest it later, and he's going to do that by around the outside of McClements again.
Yeah, superb fighting. It's allowing Hayden Bramley to once again get involved with this bit of contact there as Dylan McClements fires Milikangas out wide. Hayden Bramley now takes it alongside. They're going to go 3 wide, potentially up towards Palmer. Bramley backs out of it. Look to the outside coming in from Timu Milikangas. Dylan McClements has the race lead as they work their way through the left-hander of Palmer. There is still plenty more action left to deal with. Going up towards Agostini as they're getting pushed off the road goes Timu Milikangas as Dylan McClements says, no, you're not coming through there.
Kendall there on the outside, very much making places as everybody defended their position. He went to the outside and got into 4th. He was very nearly 3rd as he was side by side with Hayden Bramley. Sanders and Summers also side by side. Milikangas to the outside again. Bramley in a very unusual position now of wanting to get into 2nd, but has to wait now through this right-hander, just trying to get the best run possible onto the back straight.
It's all kicking off here at Snetterton once again, and if this is what the Formula 4 is going to be like, wait until the British Formula 4 Esports Championship in a few minutes' time. Here comes a look to the inside from Milikangas. Dylan McClements will leave it to the outside as they work their way through Brundle and then Nelson, but he can't do anything about it, but that penalty looms over the head of Milikangas. He once again sends it to the inside. There's contact again between the pair of them. Milikangas will just about hang on to the provisional race lead as Dylan McClements in 2nd position, then Bramley, then Kendall, then Sanders, then Decker, then Summers, Hopper, Loudon and Sherwood, the top 10, all separated by 2 seconds around this circuit. Through the final corner they're going to go. Timu Milikangas is going to lead the drag race to the line, but a potential penalty over his head will cost him the race lead, and Dylan McClements might be able to take it. They work their way up to the line. Milikangas will cross the line in 1st position, but I think it's going to go the way of Dylan McClements, who will take his first victory in the UK Formula Ford 1600s.
Even if Milikangas' penalty is 5 seconds, he'll drop to 13th. That's how close that field was over the start finish line. Not a single gap above a second until you get to 13th to 14th in this race. There goes Milikangas flying down the field. He will finish 18th, and Dylan McClements will be the winner, at least for now.
That was absolutely insane. Loved it. That was a fantastic race once again. And like you say, I know you might not be the biggest fan of this circuit all of the time there, Ewan, but you got to say it's delivered the action here in the UK Formula Ford 1600. No, to drive, maybe not amazing, but to watch, absolutely incredible. McClements then victorious from Bramley, from Kendall, from Sanders, who works away, obviously was running in 5th, now up an extra position. So a superb night from Sanders. Jeffrey Decker holds on to a top 5 from the reverse grid pole. Then Charlie Summers, Jamie Hopper up from basically the rear of the field up to 7th position. That's solid. Brandon Loud as well, showing some good pace. Jaden Sherwood, who came into this round as a championship leader, would end up finishing in 9th. Then, of course, Wan Shi Lin in 10th position. And all of that, by the way, Crofton Woodhatch was able to set the fast lap of the race and will receive the bonus point courtesy of doing so. Maybe that was his real intent on reaching the checkered flag. Rebecca Morell behind Paige Dovenbaum. Mario Ras there in 13th position with Isaac Gay. Crofton Woodhatch will finish in 15th position with Smith, then Winter, then Milikangas finishing in 18th, and effectively the last finisher of that race, because I do think Franek Sikorsky is a retirement from that race, I am afraid. But once again, a superb race and extremely exciting. And for the first time this season, let's catch up with Dylan McClements, who is victorious for the first time this season on the podium, I believe, for the first time this season. Superb effort, great drive. That's going to certainly help you move up the championship, Dylan. I mean, what a battle there with Timu all the way through the end. You were leaving nothing on the table.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great battle, and it's good to get the win on the board after I feel like it's been a unlucky couple of weeks, but yeah, it was a great battle, and starting second, I knew how to send it, and yeah, I left no margin, and yeah, took the win. From there, it was close to my exes. I think Timu got a penalty, so glad for that.
I do remember back to Donington Park, you were obviously running really well in the first race, and then it all fell apart on the final lap with, I think, was it some contact or something that ended up you spinning down the order? Some drama either way late on, which obviously then affected the second race. You retired from the first race at Thruxton. 7th and 1st, yep, you were involved in the lead battle in both races. A very positive evening for you for this championship, surely, which hopefully should help for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, highest score points this season, and it's definitely put my mind back on the championship. I'm clawing back up again. Hopefully I can battle it all the way to the end, and can't wait for the next couple of rounds.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed there, Dylan. Great drive, great victory, and welcome to the podium as well.
Cheers. Hope to see you soon.
There we go. Dylan McClements, I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of as the season unfolds. Let's talk to our top 2 in the championship, starting with Hayden Bramley. Of course, second in that race. Another solid drive, another fantastic podium. Hayden, obviously, finished 3rd in the previous race, 2nd in that one, 4 podiums this season. You keep racking them up. And again, another brilliant drive right in the middle of that battle there. That must have been a bit scary.
Yeah, that was... I didn't want to get involved because I saw them almost wrecking each other every single lap, like almost every corner. But when you've got pressure from behind, and thankfully Matt realized that it's not a good fight to get involved with, so he started backing off as well. But yeah, I mean, I tried once or twice and it almost wiped me out. I ended up with wheel damage, and I got flashbacks to last round because it was a very similar situation. But yeah, that was really, really scary.
Yeah, I bet at the moment, obviously there's 2 rounds of drop score across the whole season. We're 3 rounds in. You're right up there in the championship. And yes, of course, you've got that retirement at Thruxton, but obviously you got the victory as well. So you've got solid points all back there. Another solid points all here. 2nd and 5th in the first round. Looking like your drop score, it's looking like we got a pretty good selection here at the moment.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually know we had any drop rounds, so that helped me calm down a little bit after last round. But considering the points I could have scored last round, and to still be as high up in the championship and as staying competitive within the title fight, it's really keeping me of sound mind. it kind of messes with you a bit, or it messes with you a little bit. Where you go into the final round, you don't actually really know. And I mean, personally, I can't be bothered to calculate all the drop scores and everything. So it kind of takes a bit of unsurety out for me, because I know that my drop round, like I already know what my drop round's hopefully going to be, and I know it isn't actually that bad.
Yeah. Absolutely, making the like I say, if you drop it, it's not too big of a deal at the moment because you're scoring pretty consistently. Don't worry, you don't have to. You drive as well as you can. I'll deal with the drop scores and such. Yeah, we'll see you in a week's time at Oldham Park. Great drive, 2 podiums again.
Thank you.
There we go. That's Hayden Bramley, of course, the driver who sits second in the championship. Will return to the championship leader, of course. 4 podiums from the opening 6 races of the season. Matt Kendall joins us once again, second and third, similar to what he had back in Donington Park. It was third and second then. Proving to be a very consistent driver in this championship, Matt. Once again, right in the middle of the fight, but picking and choosing the right opportunity every single time, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm very happy to be driving the way I am at the moment. Mainly, the main motivator is to just be consistent, as you say. Something I learned very early on. Best way to win a championship is score points. So that's the motivation behind the driving at the moment.
Yeah, certainly so. Obviously, over the last couple of seasons, generally speaking, we've kind of had, even from quite an early stage, 2 drivers that really kind of stand up above the rest of the field, and they almost become like the main focus of the championship fight. This season, I don't personally necessarily feel like that's the case. It feels like there's a large group of you. I know obviously we're still quite early days. Is that how it feels behind the wheel? Is there like a certain other driver that you're looking at as being your main championship rival at the moment, or is it still like quite open for you? Because I know we're still pretty early days and everything's pretty tight.
At the moment, I feel like it's quite early. There are so many strong drivers that every race feels to a point like it is right place, right time. And it's going to be who blinks first, really, that decides who stands out right at the end. The level of racing is so high that it's very, very early.
Certainly so, but I like talking about championship right from the off, so it's fine. Great stuff this round again. A 4th podium. That victory, I'm sure, is waiting for you. Maybe when we go racing at Oldham Park. We'll see you then.
Cool, see you then.
Lovely. Matt Kendall then on to the podium once more. Great racing to start us off this evening here, Ewan. Quick wrap up before we get ready for British Formula 4.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the racing in this first category. I always do, actually. I think those cars race really well around any circuit. As I say, even Snetterton, which I'm not a particular enjoyer of, it was really, really good tonight. I'm sure it will be over the course of the next 5 rounds as well. Going to be a very, very exciting and unpredictable season, much like what we saw in the 2 races today.
Just 6 points separates top 2 in the championship, which is, of course, Matt Kendall, your championship leader, and Hayden Bramley, who we just caught up with a pair of them there. It's time, though, to prepare ourselves for an even tighter championship fight at the moment, because it is time to get ready for the 3rd round of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment. We're back and ready to go for the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, returning for round 3 of the season here at the Snetterton 300 circuit after 2 thrilling starts to the season and 2 excellent rounds of racing at Donington Park and at Thruxton. Leaves just 1 point between the top 2 in the championship between Henry Moore and Danny Moreno. We'll talk about that in a few moments' time. Qualifying is about to get underway. There are 10 minutes around this circuit and 4 laps to complete. With all that, we'll set the grid for race number 1. 20 minutes onto the board for, of course, that reverse grid race that seems so important in this championship. Race number 2 coming up after that, and it is potentially a big reverse grid. We'll roll you through the prizes again. The winning team receiving £2,500, £1,500 for second, and a grand for the third place team on the team's championship side of things in that £5 prize pool. And of course, the top 3 teams will also receive 1 full day of single-seater simulator use, the base performance simulators alongside an engineer, which again has been super helpful for a lot of drivers that I know that race in junior Formula racing. So superb to have that from base performance simulator. Also, the winning team receives 4 hospitality tickets to a round of their choice next season's Wearer Tools British Formula 4 Championship. And of course, we have the pole position award presented by BPS. The driver with the most pole positions in the season will win that BPS FW1 steering wheel and the BPS DDU as well. So always good to have an extra little screen of display, a bit more information ahead of you. So superb prizes there. Let's take a look at the driver standings coming into it. Henry Moore by a single point leads from Danny Moreno, who took that excellent victory in race number 1 back in Thruxton. Matt Caruana in 3rd position with Remy Gilbert in 4th. Not very much separating those top 4 drivers, just 18 points. A bit of a gap back to Leo Brown, Pablo Espes, Will Redford, and of course Goga Bowley, Rope Kokopau, and of course Ryan McAuliffe in the top 10. The team's championship, though, it is Team Bennick starting to run away from the rest of the field. TC Esports there on 190 points, a fair way 76 points back on Henry Moore and Remy Gilbert, of course, driving for Team Bennick. Hymo set up by EMM, that's Matt Caruana driving that team. 3rd position they sit at the moment. Hopefully we'll see some good results from both Matt Caruana and Will Chadwick in that team. We know has superb speed. Driveland Racing, G2, Alpine up there as well in a tight fight. Look at that between Driveland, G2, Alpine and Williams. Very little separating that group. Qualifying then about ready to get underway. And again, similar type here, of course, Ewan. It's the circuit's your own. You can drive around it clear as day, what we had in the UK Formula Fords as well. But of course, such a quicker car around here.
Yeah, visibly different, and we'll go on board in a moment and see just how different you have to drive one of these as well over the course of a lap. Going to be very interesting to see whether we see the same sort of racing or whether this could be one of those circuits where you can break away a little bit in the slipstream, because I mean, so far last time out of Thruxton, it was very, very difficult to break away indeed, even in these cars. I can't quite decide what kind of a race this one is going to be like, but I do know they will be able to get their full amount of laps in, considering they are just a little bit quicker than the cars we've just seen. So all 4 lap times should be for everybody.
Certainly so. Like I say, it's very interesting to see how this qualifying is going to unfold. I think it is a very important qualifying session, because I don't think it's quite as much as an open pack race as what we've had obviously in the previous race of the UK Formula 4, or even when we were racing at Thruxton. There are a few bits to go through. There are a few drivers excluded from qualifying. I'm not sure exactly which ones are actually here, but I will go through it anyway. We have the following list, and that is quite a list. We've got Will Redford, who I don't believe can go out in qualifying. Shomi Shintani, I think, is also excluded. I think Mia Rose also excluded and has a back of the grid drop for race 2. Beckham Jasir excluded, and Alexander Strabel all not a participant in this qualifying session. I believe, I could be reading the spreadsheet wrong, but I think those two are not. A lot of drivers are not able to go out in this qualifying session, whichever ones are here.
Yes, and that will potentially be a real handicap at this particular circuit because of the lack of ability to move through quite so quickly in this series. I guess it's the case any of the circuits really. The track position itself is rather important rather than the ability of overtaking. It is the good sort of getting caught behind stuff, as we've already talked about. But this is on board with Augustin Tulasi. Just look at the way that the car is a lot more pinned to the ground and a lot less oversteer correction needing to happen in one of these F4 cars.
Yeah, you want one nice smooth wheel input going into the corner and keep it nice and tidy as you work your way around. Augustin Torlashi, who had a great opening round of the season at Donington Park with an 8th and a 4th, retired from both races at Thruxton. As we'll take a look at these speed rounds here into Oggies, take that curve on the right hand side and prepare for the very quick flick through Williams. So you've got to nail this one because of the run out onto the Benny Straight. Can't use too much of that on the left-hand side. The car kind of wants to roll out there, especially when you're in a pack and you've got that dirty air being put onto the front wing. It does cost you quite a lot going through there, and it'll push you out onto those curves. Into this complex of corners at Brundle and Nelson. Such a fantastic complex of corners in these cars. When you hook it up with the downforce into the fast right-hander at Bombhole, completely pinned through there, not a problem. And then depends how brave you want to be through Coram here. You see, basically keeping it pinned. Then there's the lift. Not really a dab of brakes until you reach about the second set of bollards there on the right-hand side. Flick it into the left-hander through the final corner and then out towards the line. Augustin Torlashi, again, driving in that TC Esports team, who have been the star of the show, I think, so far this season. Second place is far better than we were expecting from them.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a big runaway leader in the championship standings, that's for sure, with Team Bennett, but TC Esports have been strong so far. I guess that you know, it maybe shouldn't be as much of a surprise because Danny Moreno and Augustin Torlashi are not bad drivers by any means, but nevertheless it is just a little bit. To have them up into second position, a little bit of a surprise at this stage in the season. We'll see how long it continues on for. Personally, I'd like to see a bit of a fight for it, but if Henry Moore and Remy Gilbert continue on the way they're going, then it's going to be a one-horse race in the team championship this season, and they're currently 1 and 2 here as well.
Yeah, again, running pretty strong on those opening laps. Henry Moore at the moment in position for your base performance simulator pole position at present, looking for another one. Again, started out the season with a pole position, did not have pole at Thruxton though. That was Danny Moreno. Those are the two drivers that share the pole position. Remy Gilbert has qualified. He qualified in 6th position in the opening round of the season. I think he qualified in 8th in the previous, so slightly better form from him as we ride on board with Ryan McAuliffe.
Getting that very difficult chicane right, or trying to. You can see the way that you can actually take a bit of a different line there. They actually stay a bit further to the left as they're actually coming through the left-hander of Brundle to sort of open out Nelson, and then the run out of that corner, because it is a bit of a run. It's not as much of a corner, the momentum blocker, as the Bombhole corner is at for the Formula Fords. So it is a bit more of an important exit needed out of there. That's why Mikalev now comes up towards the line. We'll see where he gets to. It's not a 10-second lap time. It's just because he faded out and in again. He does move up, though, into 4th place.
Superb effort. Danny Moreno, though, up into 4th. Stanley Deslandis now goes up into 3rd. Iggy Smith on the return to the championship up into 5th. Matt Caruana did improve up into 6th position, but no one quite able to touch the Team Bennett duo running 1st and 2nd in this qualifying session. Henry Moore, at the moment, championship leader by just a single point over Danny Moreno, the driver who's in 4th position. Matt Caruana, who's 3rd in the championship, sits 6th in the session, but getting the important assistance from his teammate, Will Chadwick, who finds himself now 7th in this qualifying session. Chadwick has only finished 19th, 14th and 16th so far this season, and a retirement from one of the races. Not a good start to the season from Chadders.
No, and we'll see whether he can improve on that. It just feels like the momentum or the look that he's been having is not going to be conducive particularly to a bounce back here this week, but you never know. Maybe the week off will just reset things a little bit and he'll get a good result. But a top 10 in qualifying is a good place to start. I think the problem sometimes this season has been ending up in the midfield and then getting caught up in someone else's incident. It's a lot harder to do that when there's only 6 in front of you, and that's what he's got at the moment.
Yeah, I don't believe that everyone's on ridiculous push laps at the moment. I think there might be some drivers that are trying to calm things down a little bit, getting ready for the final lap of the session. They should be able to get their allotment of 4 laps in here. That said, we'll keep an eye on the likes of Will Chadwick, who we're looking at here, whereas Remy Gilbert, who, when we were riding on board with, I mean, maybe it was just because it was buttery smooth, but it didn't look like it was a super push lap to my eye. And I think as he kicks it through the final corner to begin his final qualifying lap of the session, now I think everything is going to get turned up just a touch, and we'll see what he's able to do.
Is your butter smooth? Mine's kind of bumpy. Anyway.
Well, hopefully it's not grainy.
It's not that, at least. But there you go. Yeah, we'll see what he can do on this last lap time. I personally think Henry Moore's got enough with that lap time. A 46.0, I think, will be fine. It's not a big gap, but in the context of the rest of the field, that is quite a big gap, I think. And so I reckon that is enough. But let's see as these final times come through. Brown hadn't even set one in towards the front before, and he just moves up to third place. So there can be late lap times. We might see a few here.
Again, the closely affiliated team there of Team Bennick. Leo Brown drives for the Drive Lounge Racing. I know they keep a very watchful eye on this championship. Leo Brown's a superb driver, now moves up the order then into third position in the 33. Can there be any improvement from Remy Gilbert? At the moment, he works his way out onto the back stretch. His previous lap time was a 1:55.5, so it was that back-off lap time that we were expecting. Pablo Espes did exactly the same thing, so it seems like they've done 2 push laps and then a call. Matt Caruana was the exception to that. He set a 46.170 on the previous lap. Will his tyres be able to remain alive for the final push around the circuit? Iggy Smith's qualifying sessions come to a close. Same with Will Murdoch. They've both pulled out of the session of the hunt for the BPS pole position.
See whether Gilbert's done enough here on this lap time to get over Henry Moore's lap time of a 1:46.061. He comes out of the final corner now, does Gilbert, and we won't get a view as to what the time is going to be until we see it change or not on the left-hand side of the screen. There he goes, over the line. He looks up himself. Is he pleased? Is he not? He is up towards the front, but no emotion just yet because Henry Moore goes on top of him anyway.
Yeah, why celebrate when you know your teammate is going to smash it out of the park? Henry Moore drops it into the 1:45, the only driver to do so. Will Chadwick's been moved down to 11th position. Can he improve on the final lap of the session? Yes, he can, up into 8th position. It is more from Gilbert, from Brown, from Caruana. As we head further down the field to see some of our other drivers work their way through. It's Charles Wimberley, who we're looking at the moment, made his debut in the previous round, but that is the session over, and Henry Moore is on the BPS pole position. Here's a look at the starting grid then, and all 32 cars on it. Henry Moore from pole position makes it a Team Bennick 1-2 with Remy Gilbert alongside in second. Drive Lounge Racing's Leo Brown from third, with Matt Caruana for Jaime set up by EMM. Pablo Espes in fifth with Stanley Deslandis in the Mensa Racing driven by us team. Then it's Danny Moreno, driver who sits second in the championship, and a race winner back in Thruxton in seventh. Will Chadwick in eighth, then Iggy Smith and Pedro Silva make it all Aston Martin on row 5, with Kieran Harding and Augustin Torlashi in 12th position for TC Esports. Ryan McAuliffe and Gogo Bowley for the Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports team, with Connor Jupp in 15th, then Jonathan Riley in 16th, Will Murdoch and Rope Kokapau in 18th position, with Jack James on debut this season, with Robert Glerum there in 20th position. Corioline in 21st, with Hans-Jakob Mole in 22nd position, with Herman and then Heron starting from 23rd and 24th. Diana Perez in 25th position, with Olivia Hayward, then Wimbley, Matthews, Shoma Shintani and Will Redford, some of the drivers starting from the rear end of the field, along with Mia Rose and Alexander Strabel. Mia Rose starting from the rear of the field in both of the races this evening. You can see them getting ready to begin this race, and Henry Moore will be feeling in a very positive position. The only repeat winner this season so far. Can he make it 3 race victories from 5 races?
I personally think that he can, based on the qualifying session we just saw and his performances in the first races of evenings so far. Won at Donington in Week 1, and then I know he didn't win at Thruxton and got dropped to 9th at the end with penalties and such, but he put on a good performance there, and on another day he very much could have won that race a couple of weeks ago. So I think he is glaring favourite for this first race of the day.
I would agree, and I do agree, but I can also say that, you know, his teammate Remy Gilbert, they are going to go on the attack. Leo Brown will comfortably put up a fight, as well as we've seen before. We'll have to wait and see how things are going to unfold, and as before, you even account for that 4th car, Matt Caruana, who certainly knows how to get his elbows out. They'll get ready to go racing then for the first time this evening in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, and Henry Moore will lead away from the base performance simulator pole position straight over to cover off his teammate Remy Gilbert. They go single file in the top 4. The side-by-side happens from those behind as Danny Moreno tries trying to attack standing. Does Landers going through the opening corner. We ride on board with his teammate though in Augustin Torlashi right in the middle of the field. You've got Ryan McCallum, you've got Pedro Silva, you've got Kieran Harding directly ahead of him in the Drive Lounge racing car as they get squeezed out wide, departing the Wilson hairpin.
It's a lot more side by side than we saw on a couple of occasions in the previous series through this opening lap, especially back in the pack. Torlashi very nearly into the side of Ryan Micallef there through the left-hander. Now he's going to get pulled in front of, and this is going to be dangerous. 3 wide nearly, they get away with it, and Guga Boldi on the right is going to take advantage of that. Torlashi down to 14.
Certainly. So where are we going to see some other moves happening as we keep our eye? But I think there was the move coming in from Kieran Harding, who got up into 10th position. So trying to get that Drive Lounge racing car up the field. There's Jonathan Riley from the Scuderia Ferrari HB Esports team that were battling up there for the team's championship last season. Came up a position shy of it, but still a solid position in 16th, right involved in the middle of the field. He's got his teammate a couple of positions ahead, Remy Gilbert, who sits second in the race at the moment, with Henry Moore directly ahead. No battling happening between them. It is Team Bennett 1 and 2, Drive Lounge Racing in 3rd position in the 33 car, Matt Caruana, who will be looking to go on the attack for high most settles by EMM.
It's a good start from through the field though from all of these guys, and we'll see where the first breaks start to come, but this has been very, very strong indeed. We'll see now as well just how badly Leo Brown does want to get in between these two out front. You mentioned he's going to be one of those who really contends with the likes of Henry Moore out front. Well, how is he going to go about doing that? Because it's very hard to do when there's 2 teammates who are 1st and 2nd.
Obviously, we have spoken before, of course. Leo Brown used to be direct teammates with Remy Gilbert last season when they were driving for Guild, of course. Henry Moore was a sort of a sister teammate because he was part of the Guild Academy, the promoted driver from winning the opening season of the UK Formula 4 1600 Championship back in 2023. So they're all drivers that are well aware as to how each other drives and are in comfortable position, and they are effectively closely related sister teams to a degree. Leo Brown still on very closely affiliated with the 2 drivers ahead. And you'd normally sit there and be like, well, maybe they won't battle then. They'll sit here and... No. I was talking to Leo Brown after the first round, and I completely believe what he says. He wants to win this championship, and he'll be focused on working his way past the 2 drivers ahead, whether they're affiliated or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you'd hope to see as well from a neutral perspective. You hope that those team games don't get in the way too much of the racing that we can see, and we'll see whether that is the case up front, but should not be a problem, which would be nice to see. Nice to see the teammates fight, even if they're just loose teammates, as it were. Caruana is going to get past Leo Brown meantime, or has done, into the chicane. Leo Brown very much letting that happen because he knows what will happen if they fight too hard.
Danny Moreno dropping down the field to just 10th position. What has happened to Danny Moreno? Now down to 12th, now down even further. There's been big drama for the driver who sits 2nd in the championship, and as much as we've been talking all about the drop scores in the UK Formula 4 1600 Cup, there are 0 drop scores here in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. For the driver who was victorious in the opening race at Thruxton, there has been some huge drama here for Danny Moreno, and he was spun round. My goodness, that was by one of the Williams drivers.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a teammate. They look quite similar there from an angle, but they're not. And it was indeed one of the Williams drivers. Who was it, though, is what I'm trying to work out. Because they're all in that group now from 6th place on backwards. The front 5 have been given a definitive gap as a result of that, but trying to figure out who actually made the contact.
Would it have been Pablo Espes? Must have been Pablo Espes.
Yeah, should be.
He sat in 6th position. Bit of a shame there for the TC Esports team in general, not just Danny Moreno. That is a big shock, and you can see that the group has now split apart, 1 through 5, and then 6th, 2 seconds behind. Yeah,
it's not good news at all for TCs, but you know, again, this is what happens when you qualify in the mid-pack and you're not out front, like we saw for the likes of Moreno in the Thruxton rounds, where he got to the first race victory and then a top 5 in race 2 as well. Looks like that run of top 5 finishes is going to come to an end here tonight, and Torlashi is not exactly up there sort of taking his place, so not a great night for TC Esports so far. This is Will Redford going around through Oggies.
Yeah, indeed. Redford's had some great speed this season. Currently sits 7th in the championship. Had a top 5 in the opening race of the season. 2 top 10s that have followed that. But unfortunately there, a bit of a spin for the G2 Esports man. Just going to throw out a quick apology if you're seeing some technical issues. We're trying to deal with it as best we can, but alas, it's something that's slightly out of our control here in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. But we will be fighting through to watch this race. Stanley Deslandis, by the way, has just set the fastest lap of the race, and with it gets the bonus point in doing so. Of course, if you hold that fastest lap at the end of the race, and you get the bonus point. Whether you will or not, we'll have to wait and see as we ride on board with Matt Caruana. He's found his way past Leo Brown. Now there's the 2 Team Bennett cars that run first and second. He will be hungry to take yet another victory, will Matt Caruana.
He absolutely will, and he's going to go to the inside. He was shown the outside by Gilbert, but he goes for it anyway. Caruana's already made one move on Leo Brown. He made light work of that, and he's made light work of Remy Gilbert as well, and he's now up into 2nd place without too much trouble.
Indeed, Henry Moore, the next one up ahead. The 2 of those shared the most victories in the 2024 season. Henry Moore had 4, Matt Caruana had 4. They both sit at 6 on the all-time winners list if you were paying attention. If not, obviously go and check out the Motorsport UK Esports Instagram page, where there was posted some stats about this championship, about where we've been, about where we are. The top 2 drivers when it comes to the all-time winners list was Luke McEwen and Pete Berryman. The pair of them have 8 wins apiece between the 2 of them. I get the feeling that we might have a new leader of that at some point in the next couple of rounds. I get the feeling it's either going to be Caruana or Henry Moore at this rate. The 2 of those on 6 wins apiece are flying up to that top group, as there goes down the inside a move from Gogo Valley, trying to get past Pedro Silva at the back end of the top 10.
A nice move as well. Silva deciding to back out on the outside there. It's very, very tight. And
whoa!
Had Torlassi almost alongside him there. He pulls straight in front of him and put himself at great risk there, did Silva. Will Murdoch will gain on all of these guys as they are just a little bit slow out of the corner. Torlassi included. Oh, he's being freight trained here. There goes Connor Jupp down the inside as well. He's looking to make it 3 wide, maybe. Is Murdoch stuck in the middle? No. Jupp, thankfully, backs out of it, and it's Pedro Silva moving out. And there he goes. Connor Jupp on the inside.
That is a big shame from Connor Jupp, who was a star feature of that fantastic battle for the race lead in race number 2 back in Thruxton. Unfortunately, now dropping down to 23rd. They'll have to be careful for a couple of laps. Those rear tyres will be pretty toasty on his Alpine. So back off of it a little bit, maybe build himself back into the race. Well, maybe not. Maybe just send one straight down the inside, trying to make some progress on Mia Rose immediately.
Not the best idea, because as you say, the tyres won't be feeling fantastic after that spin. It seemed to me as if he did this on his own. But
yeah, I think so.
He did well. That is a bit unusual. You don't see that too often, even under a slow speed corner like that. But I guess you're just thrown out of the rhythm, I guess, a little bit by being side by side, and he just completely dropped it, which, yeah, I'll say, that's surprising.
Let me tell you something about this car. I guarantee if you did 5 laps in this car, you and O'Leary, I guarantee you would spin in a very similar way. It can be really tricky in those low speed bits. I don't know, you know, I wouldn't spin, obviously, you know, I'm down. No, it is quite easy to spin in those low speed bits. It's kind of one of those ones, once it starts to go, it can actually be really hard to catch, especially if your tyres have been slightly heated.
Look at that for a bit of body language communication, by the way. No words needed from Matt Caruana. That we said, please stop defending, focus forward and get on with this, would you? Yep. Because obviously Henry Moore doesn't want to do that because Remy Gilbert's right there and he'd much rather his teammate overtake Caruana than Caruana still be there. But that's the most obvious bit of communication I've ever seen without words in a race car. That was quite, well, mildly amusing, in fact.
Yeah, certainly so. No lights to use here in a Formula car. You know, you've got to use your weaving and your wits to communicate. That's the only way that you can do it. You can't just flash the light. Although I always said the light flash is always kind of like, what does that mean? Does that mean that you want to go through, or are you going to get aggressive, or does that mean that you don't want them to fight, or you want them to defend? What's the deal here? But either way, they are still running very tightly in this group. We've got Moore, we've got Caruana, we've got Gilbert, we've got Brown, and we've got Deslandis. All of these drivers, all 5 of them, have been victorious here in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship before. Pretty sure Snetterton has got a victory back in 2022, maybe?
No, that's me. He has. Yes, I'm looking at your sheet.
Thank you.
Yes, but no, I don't know. Yeah, they're 5 good drivers anyway. No surprise. It just depends now how they're going to resolve this race win in particular, because it is going to be one of the 5. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do if one of these 5 don't win, but it's going to be something major, because there's just no way they don't. There's going to be a big battle for it, and I'm not sure which of the 5, but it will be one of them.
Indeed. Well, like I say, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the for Henry Moore, what the biggest victory for him this week would be. Would it be this race here if he's able to do it, or would it be passing his driving test? Obviously, congratulations for that one, but I don't think he's caring about that one bit at the moment, as he tries to keep Matt Caruana at bay at the moment. Is doing so brilliantly, but like you say, I get that. The communication from Caruana was clear. Whoa, my goodness me. What a crash here outside of the top 10, right at the back end. What a bit to clip to.
I know.
Oh my.
10 seconds forward there. If you're watching this back and clips 10 seconds forward there and just saw that as a screen, that would be, well, again, mildly amusing, but not for those who were caught up in it. There was a car upside down. There was at least 4 sideways to the track, perpendicular to the track at a turn 2. Now, try and pick the bones out of this one. Pablo Espes was the first of them involved. He gets spun around, a bit innocent piece of content. Oh, and there's a separate incident there with Will Murdoch, the first to be spun around, and then they all pile in after that. So it's a concertina effect, and they all just pile on in. Dear oh dear, that's a nightmare.
And the brake pedal was used sparingly from the group there. Yeah, it was Murdoch getting spun round by Pedro Silva. You also had Will Chadwick making contact. That was the initial hit. It was Chadwick into Espes that started off that. And like I say, I've commentated on the British F4 Esports since its inception back in 2022. Oh, that is one of the bigger crashes that we've seen. That was a whopper. My goodness.
And yeah, you say that, you know, brake pedal was used sparingly. Perhaps, I mean, you've got so little time to react there that I'm kind of thinking that there's not much some of them could have done to make that any different, actually, given the way they were all so close to one another on the way into this corner a couple of moments ago. They were all just bound to pile in on the way out of that turn, but there you go. I guess all accidents can be avoided, so yeah, it's probably true in the end. But you know, it's one of those where they're so close that they are almost inevitably going to pile in there.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been playing Battlefield 6 all week. That is the most carnage that I've seen this week, is that instant there. So a little bit messy, but that's fine. Here comes arriving left around the outside of Lucas Herman, who's been rising up through the field. Jonathan Riley not too far off the rear. They were all able to escape that chaotic moment. There comes a look down the inside from the BS competition driver, but no move was made.
Not this time. Jonathan Riley's got a bit of left hand down here, by the way. Well, he's not as
tiny bit, I think.
It's very, very small, yeah. But I think he is slightly suffering with suspension damage, as Matt Caruana is being sandwiched by Moore and Gilbert. I think Henry Moore is not driving to his absolute potential because he wants Gilbert to get ahead of him, but I'm not sure how him slowing down really helps that situation.
I don't know. I'll take a look at the lap times between those two based on where they've been during this race. Fastest lap of the race from Henry Moore was a 46.312, and that is the fastest lap for his race. Of course, Standards Landers a little bit quicker, but not too much. It's a 4.12, plays a 4, then a 5.43, 3.52, 4.23, 6.48, 5.18. Still pretty similar on the lap times. They're all all of those lap times within 0.3 of a second. So I do think he is pushing, maybe not 99, yeah, maybe not 100%, but like 98, 99%. I think he's pushing around here. Caruana's just right there between him. But this thing is that Caruana's been quite good with that. That's exactly what he did in 2023. We won't talk about it too much because there was a bit of an incident at Old Park. We won't talk about it. But he was in the middle of the Stormforce ART bunch, and he was having a bit of a. He was the only driver to really get amongst the ART and the JHR Esports, JHR by 29 Esports. They were all affiliated for the Apex Racing team. He was the only driver to really get in the middle of them, and he did the same thing again last season with Guild. He's doing the same thing again here, where he's always in the middle of them, showing again the incredible speed that Caruana's got here. But I think he's getting quite comfortable with separating teammates. Oh my!
And it is. Whoa, no! Shintani! Another driver going over and over again. And he's going to end up on his roof, on his head. That is going to be another retirement for a Williams Sim Racing driver. Pablo Espez and Shintani were both running pretty well at one stage tonight, but no longer.
Shinobu Shintani, of course, the Williams Sim Racing Academy driver after being finishing second place and getting promoted up from the UK Formula Ford Esports. You can see Jonathan Riley there with some front wing damage. We're going to see this incident once more. So Mikolev into the rear end, and I think there was a touch in the rear, and here comes the flip. That one's going to get a good rating from the judges, probably maybe 15 out of 10 for that one. That was a solid spin.
Solid rating from the community, I would say. The Williams Sim Racing community. Oh dear, it's all been happening for Lucas Herman as well. That was pretty rash. I mean, maybe we caught it a bit late. It wasn't that rash actually. He's just got it wrong. It's pretty difficult to avoid contact through there, and loses his front wing as well.
Mikolev in the middle of both of those to a degree. Maybe, I'm not saying he was to blame for either of them, but either way, he was present and accounted for in the middle of both of those incidents. 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. 2 laps left at the line. I do believe from where we are on this at this point in the circuit, certainly will be 2 left at the line with this pace that this lot are going. So 2.5 laps for this lot to all switch around. Wonder when Caruana goes in the attack. Yeah,
I was going to say, what if they just stay exactly like this for the next 3 minutes? I'm sure that's not going to happen. No, I wouldn't have thought. Just as I was saying, by the way, as we just saw that incident, there's a real art to this, and it's no accident, I don't think, that Caruana is the driver constantly getting in amongst teammates like this to sort of break them up. And admittedly, it's not doing much for the team tally, which Henry Moore and Remy Gilbert are adding to massively again here tonight, with TC Esports especially so far down in this particular race. They will have a big lead at the end of this race, and at the end of the night likely as well, as they already do after just 2 rounds. But he's definitely found the knack to this. He's definitely got a skill for it, and if he goes on and wins this race, it'll be a very, very good performance indeed. One other mention, by the way, Tamir Rose up inside the top 10.
Literally was about to say this.
Yeah,
incredible.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's fine. You can steal my thunder. That's all right. I'll allow it. 31st to 10th, though. You're absolutely right. The Rocked Red Bull Racing Esports team driver. Again, I think she's going to have to start from the rear. Or she's going to have to start from the rear end of the next race as well, courtesy of basically a breach of license points to the previous round. If you get too many penalties, you get an exclusion from qualifying, which is what happened to Mia Rose. But breach too many points, and so it's an exclusion from qualifying and starting from the rear of the second race of the evening. To go to 10th, I mean, just avoid all the drama. Perfect drive, best result of the season. Yeah, do it more.
Might consider it. After what I said, for race 2 in the previous series was, you either want to start these races at the very front or at the very back, and it might not be the worst idea in the world starting right from the very back. Now, Miros probably isn't going to end up, or indeed whoever's at the back, is probably not going to end up 10th every time. That's going to be very, very difficult to achieve, but it is possible that you can gain a lot of places just by hanging out at the back and avoiding the trouble, which is inevitably going to arrive in these races. And so, fair play, top 10, and just surviving the key there, as Caruana has his first challenge at the race lead here in minutes.
Yeah, certainly so. We'll be heading on to the final lap of the race. Let's see what's going to happen here between our top trio. We've got more for Team Bennett. We've got Caruana for the Hymo setups by EMM team, and we've got the other Team Bennett driver of Remy Gilbert sat behind, all ready to find their way through. Remy Gilbert has not been victorious this season, has done in the previous 2 though. Then, of course, Henry Moore, victorious twice this season. Matt Caruana, victorious this season as well. Going to go on the attack now, looking for his second victory of 2025. Into Rich is the opening corner, looking to go for the up and under, but I think Remy Gilbert's going to be slotting the gap. Can he find his way through?
He's going to have to make it 3 wide if he's going to be effective, and that's not going to happen. Caruana needs to keep his nose alongside, but Henry Moore doesn't let him have that. It was very risky. There was a small gap, but he just about pulls in front, and Caruana's got to find a different way past here on the second half of the lap.
Got to look down into Agostini here, but I don't think there's going to be any opportunity. Such a short braking zone in these cars. The defensive line's already come in from Henry Moore. Around the outside, Matt Caruana's going to look. He locks up the front left. He's going to be pushed out wide. Here comes Remy Gilbert down the inside as they go side by side up towards Hamilton.
A very rare mistake from Caruana has certainly put his opportunity of winning this race out of the question, I believe, unless Henry Moore makes a mistake. He went slightly wide there through Oggies, so it's much more likely now that Gilbert gets past Caruana, but not out of the question that we see the race lead change before the end.
As you can see, Remy Gilbert thrilled at the opportunity of attacking for another race victory here. He's right onto the rear end of Matt Caruana, 0.3 of a second between first and second, but it's second place where the battle's coming. Remy Gilbert looks to the outside. I think you're right. I think the chances of going for the race victory for Caruana might be slightly too far as they work their way down towards Bombhole. The top 3 separated by just over half a second. Is there going to be any opportunity left for Caruana? I think the opportunity has gone by going through Brundle and Nelson. That costly mistake by locking that front left going into Agostini is going to gift another victory to Henry Moore. He's going to work his way through the final corner. 4 victories last season, 3 already from 5 races in 2025. Henry Moore across the line to take his 7th victory in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. A superb drive. Caruana there in 2nd position with Remy Gilbert in 3rd. Leo Brown's going to get past Daniel Deslandis on the run up towards the line, but Deslandis does set the fastest lap of the race.
And maybe it's too early to say as well, but those 3 are certainly putting themselves into the equation for being the 3 Drivers' Championship contenders here this season, with Danny Moreno so far down for the first time in this season, actually outside of the top 5 here tonight. I would say it is very much between those 3 at the front of the field, although Henry Moore certainly will extend a championship lead in the Drivers' Championship with that victory there. I would say, not taking anything away from him, a little bit down to a Caruana mistake there. Very uncharacteristic at Agostini to break late like that, make a lock-up, and that's, I believe, what cost him at least a chance at that race win.
Certainly so. Well, we can see there a few drivers across the line. Again, give a shout out to the Rock Red Bull Racing Esports team there. Say not only was it Mia Rose in 10th, but Diana Perez also finished in 13th position, so a solid points haul for the squad. Same with high most setups by EMM. Will Chadwick up there in 6th position. Is he going to be starting from reverse grid pole? Yes, he is. The number was 6. I was a little bit concerned as to whether it was a 9 then, but no, it certainly was. 6 is going to be the number. So those top 6 will be reversed, and Will Chadwick, who knows how to win from reverse grid pole, will be starting from it. But of course, the provisional race results, it's Henry Moore victorious again. Matt Caruana and Remy Gilbert will catch up with those 3 in a moment's time. Then Leo Brown, Deslandis, Chadwick, Smith, Baldy, then Harding and Mia Rose in the top 10 for the first time this season. Those behind, Corey Elaine in 11th position. Then it's Heron, then Perez, then Strobel, then of course Redford, Kirkapau, Herman there down in 17th position. James on debut there for Jack James. Wimbley, of course, in 9th position. Izzy Matthews, who we saw across the line, 20th position. Still another page and a bit left to go, though. Mikulev down in 21st position. Bit of a disappointment there, unfortunately, for Mikulev. Hans-Jakob Muller, who we saw, of course, racing in the UK Formula 4 1600 back in the first season, if I remember correctly. Will Murdoch then in 23rd position, with Pablo Espes involved in a couple of incidents, including that big crash, of course. Olivia Hayward in 25th place, with Connor Jupp, I think, finishing a lap down. Retirements from Shintani, from Riley, from Silva, and of course the TC Esports duo, Augustin Torlashi, retiring from the race, along with his teammate Danny Moreno. Robin Glarham as well, also retiring for a disappointing day for the Williams Sim Racing team. It is time, though, to talk to our podium, and of course they are 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the championship. You said they may be showing themselves as championship protagonists. The first driver we're going to talk to, of course, is Henry Moore. Of course, superb drive, 3rd victory from 5 races. What a drive, what a battle when you were able to keep Caruana at bay. Was there a thought maybe you could make it a 1-2 and get Remy through as well?
Yeah, of course, it would have been nice to obviously get the 1-2, but 1-3, double podium. It's a good point for the championship, and obviously don't want to cause anything with Matt. It was a good, clean race, and yeah, really happy with that.
Yeah, obviously we're seeing the top three in the championship now after that race, finishing first, second and third, and in that order, looking like you three might be the championship protagonists all the way up to the season finale, especially after a dramatic race that saw Danny Moreno scoring no points. Is that what you're thinking, that you were expecting to come into the season battling with Caruana and Gilbert as well?
Yeah, obviously last year really fast, and I know Remy's pace from testing. So yeah, not really a shock that it's just really close with everyone, to be honest, but obviously those two in particular. But yeah, pretty clean lap in quali, little mistake in sector 2, but good to get pole, second pole now. So yeah, just looking to build on the momentum now.
Of course, you've got some busy weeks up ahead, not just school and passing your driving again. Congratulations on that side, and also you've got the global F4 Esports as well. It's becoming quite busy. How are you going to keep your focus here in the British F4 Esports Championship? I know we spoke about this a little bit last round at Thruxton.
To be fair, this round I was ill for quite a while in the lead up to it, and then this week I've obviously had school and I was karting at the weekend, driving test yesterday, so I haven't done as much as I would have liked to in preparation for this round, but yeah, it seemed to go alright, so we'll just have to wait and see, really.
Oh, it's tough winning with less practice, isn't it? Anyway, cheers, great. Enjoy starting from 6th place as well, so not too bad in the reverse grid side. Henry, champion leader, 3rd victory of the season. Congrats.
Thank you very much, guys.
There we go. Henry Moore on top once again for the 7th time in British Formula 4 Esports. And the next race is the 50th race in British Formula 4 Esports history. So there's always that to throw in. Next driver to catch up with, Matt Caruana. Of course, couldn't quite steal that victory away from Henry Moore. But once again, in the middle of those Team Bennett drivers. What did you make of that race? Was there an opportunity there, or did that mistake going into Agostini just cost you a little bit too much lock in the front left?
That was definitely an opportunity, but yeah, that mistake really just sort of solidified not winning for me. But yeah, happy to get a P2 at least. It's always going to be difficult when you've got two teammates like in front and behind you to make a move. But yeah, I'm happy with that.
Obviously, you're one of the most experienced drivers in British Formula 4. I think maybe the most experienced driver. I can't remember what I put on the stats. We're coming into the 50th race, though, of British Formula 4 Esports. You've done a whole host of them. You've won 6 of them. Talk to us about that a little bit. The journey that it's been through all this, and what's made you the driver that you are now? Because you're definitely one of the top competitors that can be fighting for this title.
Yeah, well, obviously we started back in 2022 with Kimura and with Ryan as a teammate, and we're both still in it, so we must be doing something right. But yeah, no, it's a great championship, and this year we're really looking to push forward, build on what we've got now, and yeah.
What do you think you can do from the next race? You'll be starting from 5th spot, so certainly in the hunt.
Yeah, and Chadwick's on pole as well, so yeah, that's definitely helpful for me. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I mainly just want to survive and score some more points.
Could be a solid race for you and the team. Best of luck, Matt, and maybe we'll chat to you soon.
Thank you, cheers.
And of course, the 3rd driver to catch up with, 3rd driver in the championship, is Remy Gilbert, who is now in the booth alongside someone who knows how to win in this championship. Of course, you'll be starting the next race from 4th spot. 3rd place in that race, though. Some more solid points hauls from you, but the victory's not quite there yet this season, but 3 consecutive podiums. Surely it's coming soon.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Yeah, P3, good points for the championship. I was on a 10x on the last lap, so I didn't want to risk anything too much. I think, yeah, Stanley just sort of, he got like bit of wing damage when he was overtaking Leo and just clipped the back of me, and gave me a 4x. So I had to be kind of careful from that point on. But yeah, I mean, solid points. And yeah, Henry with the P1 as well. We should have extended our lead in the team's championship. So yeah, all good.
You most certainly have the lead in the team's championship. I believe, I'm not going to count on that, but I think it's 141 points at the moment. You've got 345 because TC Esports had a double retirement from that race. So obviously, how things are looking for Team Bennett right now is pretty good. You've had 2 races where you've both been on the podium. I mean, this is a really solid position for you and the team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I finally hooked up a quali lap. after 2 rounds. But yeah, I mean, if we've scored good points for this round, so anything that happens in the next race is just a bonus, I guess.
Well, best of luck in it. We'll keep our fingers crossed and see where you end up.
Thank you very much.
There we go. There is our chat to the podium. Ewan getting ready for the second race. I'm feeling a little bit nervous, but only 6 is the number to reverse, so not too chaotic for your first broadcast here in British F4 Esports. But you never know.
No, it certainly could have been a lot more. Obviously, 15 being the maximum that we get in this series. But we only had 8 in the previous series as well for the reverse grid, and I think we had action plenty enough. So, it could well be more of the same. Looking forward to seeing how those 3 get through the field, though. Those 3 who are on the podium we just talked to there, Henry Moore, Matt Caruana, and Remy Gilbert as well. They should all be aiming to finish on the podium again, and one of them, if not all of them, will. But in what order is the question, and can they gain any points on Henry Moore, who is beginning to get a slight advantage, although there's still a long way to go?
Certainly so. Look, I'm kind of looking at it thinking that Henry Moore might check out into the race distance in the championship side of things. Team Bennett at this point very much are on the team side. But again, to really hammer home that point, we've been talking about drop scores in the UK Formula Ford 1600s. There are no drop scores. You can't really afford that many mistakes, and I'm not going to remind Henry of it. Obviously he's driving around at the moment, so it's fine. They're getting ready for the second race. But last year started out the season really strong. Not quite as strong as he started out this season, but still really quite strong. And then started to falter a little bit with a few mistakes, a few penalties, a few issues as the second half of the season went on. And it kind of left him in a troublesome scenario that allowed Graham Carroll to check out into the race distance in that championship side of things. So what does he have to do to change that for this season?
Yeah, I think that is a question he's going to have to ask himself over the course of the next few weeks. I mean, with so long to go, it's hard to sort of aim at the end of the season already, I feel. There's 10 races still to go. It does feel like a very long time away. So just for now, get your head down and just do the races as they come, and just get the best result that what you can, especially in these reverse grid races, just stay out of trouble, and you'll get a decent result from that anyway, and then see where you are a little bit later on. I wouldn't worry too much about the end of the championship just for the moment, but it's this upcoming reverse grid race that he's got to focus on primarily first of all. And it's always precarious being in the sort of slight midfield as he is here. It's, as we said, a lot better than what it could have been, but it's not great either, not starting quite at the front where he was.
No, certainly not. Like I say, it's. I think the reverse grid races are the real defining part of this championship, because again, without there being any drop scores or anything, your reverse grid races are so very important. They pay the exact same points as the opening race. The difference is obviously it being spun around a little bit. I think when you have those races where it is only 6 cars reversed, you've got to take advantage. You can't sit there and be like, oh well, that'll do. Yeah,
but in fairness, in the previous races where it's been reversed, he's done very well. I mean, at Donington Park, he got to 3rd place, despite there were quite a lot. I can't remember how many it was actually at Donington that was reversed. 12?
Hold on, I'm checking. Hold on. I don't know written down. 12.
I've forgotten it though. But yeah, I mean, whatever it was, he made his way through the field quite nicely to get back to 3rd place after starting at the very back of that reverse, because he won the first race. So
it was 8.
I think it's less of a concern about how many it is. It's just a case of staying out of trouble and getting what you can, really, because you've got to remember that it's the same for everyone, even when there is a lot reversed.
Yeah, it was 8 in the first round, and I believe... Nah, Cam's not put it. I've entrusted Cameron Roger, who's not here this round, to update the spreadsheet, and I'm not fully convinced. No, I'm not. I'm not fully convinced by what I'm reading here on the reverse grid side of things. So that's fine. We'll let him enjoy Spain, and we'll have a chat about it next week when I'm not here. It's fine.
I'll talk to him.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Cheers, boss. Oh dear.
If I'm in charge, then that spreadsheet is in big trouble. That's for sure. So that's not my job. But yeah, it's the same for everybody. So I wouldn't worry about it too much in terms of how many it actually is. It's just stay out of trouble and be around the rivals as well, because the likelihood is that those three will finish sort of near each other in the first race throughout the rest of the rounds, I would imagine, unless somebody has a really bad day, and then sort of stay with them in the second race. Don't throw it all away early on the season. You've just got to get to the end of this season or the last few rounds, giving yourself a chance, and just staying out of trouble will do that just fine.
Certainly so. Give a shout to the Hymo setups by EMM team. They're second and 6th position in that opening race. Obviously, in a really good position here to score some decent points again, especially with someone who's quite good in those reverse grid scenarios we've seen in previous seasons. Of course, we have seen. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I think we've seen Will Chadwick win more races on the road than he actually. He's had a few taken away. Let's go with that. I was trying to be nice about it, but no. He's had a few taken away from him, has Will Chadwick, after a few incidents here and there. But he certainly knows how to win a race from him.
Yeah, certainly. Again, getting to the end, winning the race, and then keeping it afterwards is sort of part of the job. But But the fact that you can get into those positions in any case is quite impressive in itself. It's just obviously about keeping it. But yeah, has a decent chance, you would say, in this race. Again, got to keep luck on his side, and I'm not sure what he can do about that. But he's got to just hope that things go his way this time round, because this should be a really good chance to get his season back on track.
Certainly so. Like you say, one of the big things with him is the season has not been on track thus far. We've spoken about it a few times with the Hymo setups by EMM team. They're a long way back in the championship. I have double checked it. I'm trying to just make sure it's right, but I think it is 141 points they are behind, and they are now in second, courtesy of the double retirement for TC. So a huge gap between first and second in the team's championship. But looking at that, you look at the opening results of the seasons. It's been a 19th, a 14th of retirement, and a 16th in the opening 4 races for Will Chadwick. And I've seen that's not all of his doing. He's been thrown into it a little bit, and it's been a bit unfortunate. But now that 6th place, now they're starting to really take control. And I'm not saying they might be able to fight Team Bennett, but you just never know what's going to unfold in the final 11 races still left to go of the season.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many races to go still that you've got to sort of stay there or thereabouts and sort of fight for second as if it is for the lead, because there will become a point in this season, you would imagine, where they don't have such a good round, or at least one of them will drop towards the back and you can gain some points that way. It's about being in second place, or at least being in prime position, close-ish, to take advantage of that when it does arrive. At the moment, nobody really is. And as you say, TC Esports having a double non-score there means that the gap grows even larger than what it was before. Whatever the actual number is, we know it's a very big one at the end of just 5 races. So they've got to all try and get closer somehow, and then capitalise on that big race where they drop points, which, as I say, surely is going to arrive at some point.
Yeah, exactly. You know that the season's not going to go perfectly from the start all the way to the end. And I'm sure, Team Bennett, I'm sure Henry Moore, I'm sure Remy Gilbert, I'm sure Seb Hawkins behind the scenes, I'm sure they're all well aware that there is drama coming their way. But it could be in this race. It could be in the next 5 races. This is the thing with this championship, is things can get out of your control very, very quickly. So whilst you have the control, you've got to really take advantage of having it.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, do what you can to sort of stay in control as well by staying out of trouble again. And again, that's easier said than done. However, staying out of trouble is absolutely the name of the game here in these reverse grid races again. So that's what we're going to be looking for in race number 2. I do get the feeling we've been lucky with the starts here tonight, and I have a feeling that one might not be quite so clean this time around, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe. I will say, we're at a point where it's been an exciting time for British F4 Esports over the last years. We want to touch on that just a touch, of course, because You join us here on a bit of a historic night here, and of course this will be the 50th race in British Formula 4 Esports history, which doesn't sound like a big number. I mean, you know, it's been 3.5 years now since this season started. 50 races, pretty solid number for any champion to get to. Means we've got a lot of history to go through. Means I got a lot of stats to look at, which is what I like to see. Henry Moore could go top, or at least joint top, on the all-time winners list if he's able to be victorious in this race, which from 6th, very possible.
Yeah, it is very possible, but how are you going to split them once they're on the same total? Because it will happen at some point, whether it's this race or in the future. Moore is going to win another race, so how are you going to split them then?
Who's done the least races?
Oh, yeah,
which at this point would be Henry Moore.
Oh, yeah, really?
Or you just say, yeah, because Henry Moore's only done a season and a bit, and obviously Pete Berryman and Luke McEwen had done 2 seasons. I'm pretty sure the first season, though, was shorter than the seasons we do now, but not enough to count it yet.
Must be, because 16 race seasons for 3 years would be 48 races before this season, and obviously this is race 6.
Oh
so,
my god, we're so good at maths in the comedy booth.
Oh,
Christ, it's popping off.
My fingers for that one.
It's terrible.
Yeah, no, it is a good milestone. I do like reaching those milestones as well. You know, I like the statistics just as much, so it's good to see. And yeah, it just feel like the championship has a bit more weight behind it as well. Once you've got sort of years of history to look back at, and you know, you can add your name to the list of winners, and it is it's a good list of winners to add your name to as well, in terms of the sort of talent on show that we've seen win this championship down the years.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work that's gone into making this championship what it is, and of course a lot of support from all of our partners over the last 3 and a bit years. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to all the hard work that goes into this championship, and of course to Hugo Luis, who's been bringing us the broadcast for the last few years as well. The opening season, obviously Connery Maddock was bringing us the broadcast. Well, a lot of hard work has brought us to this point. So like I say, I like a little bit of a milestone. I like my stats. I don't like breaking my spreadsheet, but I have done that. That's fine. I will. I'll deal with that in due course. But rest in peace. It is slightly broken.
Am I going to be commentating on my own while you?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I've been looking at it, trying to sort it. It's like, no, this is not the time.
that is finished. See, that's the difference. As much as I enjoy statistics, I'd say pretty much the same as you. When I see a big problem like that with a spreadsheet, I just think, I'm going to start again because I can't figure out how to fix it, but you can. So there we go. Anyway.
Well, I've got 50 seconds to get through this, so here's a deep breath. Will Chadwick, pole position, Stanley Landis, Leo Brown, Remy Gilbert, Matt Caruana and Henry Moore, the 6 drivers reversed from the previous race. Behind that is Iggy Smith, Gergo Bowdy, then Harding, Corey Lane, Heron, Diana Perez up there in 12th position. Strabel, then Redford, then of course Kirk Powell, Herman, James and Easy Matthews in 18th position. Mikulev and Millet rounding out the top 20. Murdoch, Wimbley, Hayward and Pablo Espez as well in 24th position, with Connor Jupp, Shomi Shintani, Riley, Silva, Torlashi Moreno 29th and 30th for the TC Esports team. Mia Rose dropping down to the final position on the grid as she started the previous race to rise up inside the top 10. Can she do it again with 3 seconds to spare? We're ready to go for the second race of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship this evening here at the Snetterton 300 circuit. Will Chadwick from that pole position, Stanley Deslandis alongside, both winners before in this category. Can they do it again? Stanley Deslandis will immediately go on the attack if he can do so down at the Riches. The lights are with a long hold, but they go out and we're racing down to the first corner. Straight on board with Remy Gilbert, who's going to immediately go on the attack here of Leo Brown, but can he find his way through without opening the door for Matt Caruana to come through behind? Will Chadwick instantly defensive coming down to the Wilson hairpin. Sanders Land is going on the attack, trying to get to the outside, and the Mentor driven by Oscar. Lock up on the front right, pushes him out wide, and is going to drop him a few positions.
And immediately look at the gains being made by those podium sitters from last time out. DeLon just trying to keep Gilbert right behind him as Caruana and Moore go side by side as well, resuming their battle for the lead, this time for 5th place at the start of race number 2. 3 wide into Agostini for them.
Yeah, certainly so. And Teslander's leaving it side by side with Henry Moore, who's on the inside now. He right on board with Iggy Smith and returned to the championship. Missed the previous round, but had some great speed at Donington. Is showing some good speed around here as well. Looking at this battle happening up ahead, and I think having a bit of a dive from Gergo Bowdy as well behind. We've got Deslandis and Moore still going side by side. Deslandis with the inside line and the white and purple car. Henry Moore being forced back into his position, which he started the race in 6th.
This is not ideal at all with those two rivals in front for Henry Moore. He needs to get this pass done right now and move on, as there's 4 wide in the background coming into the chicane. That's 3 wide, but it still doesn't fit. That is Will Redford off the road. And where's he going to rejoin? He goes straight on initially, but the escape road ends very abruptly. He still doesn't know where to find the circuit. Now he will do. He doesn't drop himself on the apex. He will probably have a slowdown. Yeah, there you go. And he will drop very long way down.
3 wide into there was never going to work. I'm not sure how aware they all were that it was 3 wide, and a little bit of squeezing, a little bit of bumping and barging, and it didn't unfold too nicely. First lap complete then. It's Will Chadwick leading from Leo Brown, Remy Gilbert, Matt Caruana as well staring behind. There comes a look to the inside from Leo Brown, who takes over the race lead. Door open as well for Remy Gilbert to potentially find his way through. Will Chadwick sidestep potentially here for his teammate Caruana, or will he try and find his way back into the fight?
It's Chadwick the one being pushed back, but Caruana's going to give him a bit of a break there by just letting him in line. And is that the smart thing to do for his personal prospects in this race, Matt Caruana? Not entirely sure, but nice to Chadwick on that occasion, and you can absolutely understand why. Now he's put himself in a precarious situation. He had to slightly defend from Henry Moore there briefly.
That was a bit of an aggressive chop over to keep Henry Moore at bay, but Caruana 4th position, Henry Moore in 5th, Standard Landers dropping down to 6th position, and now under attack by the Aston Martin Aramco Esports team driver of Iggy Smith. You've got the Scuderia Ferrari HB Esports team as well. Gogo Baldi directly behind. Some pretty Formula 1 branded colours right on the chase there of Standard Landers in 6th position. Riding back on board with the Hungarian of Gogo Baldi, the multiple WTCR Esports champion as well in years past. There's Pablo Espez for Williams Sim Racing. Not a good evening.
No, a terrible evening, I'd go as far to say, as Espez was running really well at the first part of the first race, but this is just rubbing salt into the open wound of the previous race, where he also dropped a long way down. But let's see how it happened. He was on the inside coming into... Oh! Did he? Well, can't quite see whether he got turned across there or whether he wasn't turning in quite where he stood at them, but they definitely had a disagreement online there, those two.
Yeah, Scorpio there of Alexander Strabel making contact. I get the feeling that Pablo Espez was turned into, but that was my gut feeling from on board. Maybe I'd feel very differently if I was on board with Alexander Strabel's car. And thankfully, the joy of being a commentator in a booth with absolutely no repercussions here on the championship, it's not my decision. So that's for race control to decide. Good luck to them. Race leader has the fastest lap of the race as well, and the bonus point that goes with it. Not that it matters too much at this stage of the race. It will most likely flutter around. You can see it highlighted by blue on the tower, whoever has that fastest lap, and the bonus point that goes with it. You can see there 11 cars all involved in this train. Brown, Gilbert, Chadwick, Caruana, Moore, Deslandis, Smith, Baldi, Harding, Perez and Heron, all involved in this train for the race lead.
It's remarkable. It's like the second race in the previous championship, in the Formula 4 Championship as well, we saw earlier on tonight. However, we saw that at the end of the race, to be fair for them. I don't think we're going to see that kind of group at the end of this race, but could be proved wrong, because unlike the other reverse grid races, the front group has very much fallen into an accord earlier on than you'd expect. With Leo Brown leading the race, wasn't that far away from the leading battle. In fact, was involved in it for a long time in that first race. Even Remy Gilbert here has decided, well, you know, that's a sufficient race leader, I think, in terms of speed, and is happy to sit there for now.
I'm trying to think of when the last time Will Chadwick was victorious. He did have victory in the reverse grid race at Zandvoort, but I'm pretty sure the last time he crossed the line as a winner was the race 2 at Alton Park, which actually ended up going the way of Ronnie Smith after post-race penalties. Might have done it at Brands Edge as well, I can't remember. Basically, he's been in this position a few times, knows how to go on the attack. Matt Caruana sat behind. Well, bye-bye goes Will Chadwick straight off the road. Now Caruana's surely going to come straight through on his teammate. Not sure what that line was. Have you been teaching in that one?
How dare you? No, but he does drop to 4th place, and Caruana gets an extravagant way of letting his teammate through, I suppose, on that occasion. Now, though, he's going to be a lot more focused in defending from Moore, and I think he really is going to give this a go at properly defending. But how long is this going to last? It might only last the lap. No, he does keep him behind this time.
Yeah, again, superb battling once again happening, but no major looks, no major side-by-sides. Will Chadwick feeling the pressure from Henry Moore. Could that open up the opportunity for Stanley Deslandis as well? They work their way down into through Williams and back onto the Bentley straight. That was not a particularly great line from Will Chadwick either. Didn't quite clip that curb on the inside. And now Henry Moore might be able to find his way through or look to the outside going into Brundle and Nelson. How aggressive will Chadwick send it? I think he's going to remain ahead if he can. Let's see if he can send it fully into the corner, but no. Look to the inside, Henry Moore risking it all to the inside with the Nelson apex. Standard Deslandis will now look to the outside going into bomb hole. Will Chadwick cut straight across to clip straight to the apex, and the group ahead are starting to check away.
I think this is, willfully losing time as well from Will Chadwick, because earlier he was keeping pace with the front two very easily. I know he wasn't in a battle like this, but he's defending, I think, a little bit more than what he normally would to try and keep more behind and indeed try and let that front three break away and let Caruana fend for himself out front, because he knows that he can. A bit of a weaving there initially from Moore seemed to suggest he was going to stay in behind, but he doesn't. In towards turn number one, he dives to the inside of Chadwick, who maybe was loaded into a false sense of security there. He's going to be chased over to the other side of the road, and Moore's going to try and see him off through turn two.
Oh, fantastic racing between the pair of them, though, leaving very little on the table. Superb stuff. As Henry Moore will look to the outside now as they go through Palmer's. They remain side by side. Moore getting pushed off just ever so slightly there as Moore bumping and bashing between Will Chadwick and Henry Moore. Three wide now comes Stanley Deslandis down the inside. Henry Moore's got to be aware of that because it could cause some drama here. There is contact that pushes them out wide. There's even more contact. Henry Moore being forced off the road, making it four wide. Go Bounty comes through the middle, and that was always going to happen. A big crash for Will Chadwick and for Henry Moore, the championship leader. The pair of them off the road and potentially out of the 6th race of the season and race number 50 at British Formula 4 Esports.
And it's Chadwick involved again. Not necessarily his fault the last bit, certainly not. I think, just as involved as the others as far as the rest of it is concerned, but the last bit itself wasn't his fault. Henry Moore also involved there as well. I don't think that was much his fault either, although he was trying to make a move on Chadwick quickly and obviously aggressively so at times as well. He was entitled to do that and has got damage now. This is bad damage as well. He will have to pit at the end of this lap.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be getting the meatball flag, so he'll be returning to the pit lane, but I think he'll try and get to the end of the race just to see what will happen. I think maybe he'll try and go for the fastest lap. I think he'll still get the bonus point for doing so, and that point could matter. Definitely the innocent party in all of that was Henry Moore. Was on the outside of the three wide that was made by Standard Deslandis, forcing his way to the inside, going into Agostini, and then it all kicked off after that. I think Iggy Smith was trying to move over on Gergo Bowdy there a little bit, maybe not realising they were four wide. Either way, we've got this battle happening up here towards the front of the field. It's Leo Brown, Remy Gilbert and Matt Caruana, 2.9 seconds clear of Stanley Deslandis in 4th position. This is the fight for the race lead with 10 minutes and 40 seconds left to go.
And this was always going to be the battle for the race lead as well, ever since Chadwick and Moore starting to battle the way that they did. But quite the gap they've got is a little bit bigger of a surprise. Caruana versus Gilbert again, this time with Leo Brown with them rather than Henry Moore. Now let's see how it all happened. This is as Dale Lonwood's coming down the inside, and so he doesn't, first of all, he doesn't give space to Chadwick and Moore as he should do, and then these guys just don't realise they're four wide, and I'm not entirely sure how, because those guys coming in behind could see it all happening from behind. But anyway, they didn't realise they were four wide, and they just kept coming over, and they went down like dominoes.
Yeah, like I say, not really much that could be done by Will Chadwick or Henry Moore in all of that. It was Iggy Smith that moved over a touch there on the Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports driver of Gergo Bowdy, and awkwardly enough, it's Iggy Smith and Gergo Bowdy, the two that were able to get through all of it after that contact. So that's just sometimes how the cookie crumbles. Now Matt Caruana is going to be setting his sights on taking yet another victory, on joining Henry Moore on 7 victories in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, but he's got to find his way past Leo Brown and Remy Gilbert as well. For Remy Gilbert, this is the perfect opportunity to score some decent points. Same with Matt Caruana. I mean, Leo Brown's not too far off the championship lead either, but they might be moving their way up to the top of the championship if they can get their way through.
Well, yeah, very true. It's always a big opportunity. I said at some point this season it's going to happen where Henry Moore loses a lot of positions, and indeed the team do as well. Caruana switches to the inside. Oh, that was close to contact. He did well to brake at the point that he did there, because when you're so weaving around so much there, you can be very disorientated. Caruana just about pulled it up in time and doesn't career into the side of Remy Gilbert there, and he continues to attack him for second.
At the moment, it is these two who are fighting over the top spot in the championship. At present, they'd be separated by just 3 points. Fern, there's some contact there. Oh, and it's going to be a half spin for Caruana, who's going to be able to rejoin him, but Standing as Landers is going to come through. This is going to get bad for Caruana. There goes Smith, there goes Bowdy, there goes Harding as well. Caruana dropped down into 7th position after I think he got bumped a little bit there by Remy Gilbert. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that might have been the case. Now Caruana's feeling the pressure from Diana Perez.
Yeah, and indeed from the rest of this group. Here is the incident itself. He's difficult to call.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you could say maybe he wasn't fully alongside and whose corner and blah, blah, all that rubbish conversation. Thankfully, that is one for race control to deal with, but an awkward incident, regardless, from two of our top contenders in the championship. Will leave Remy Gilbert now as the championship leader.
With second place on the road at the moment, that's pretty clear now, with the rivals around dropping like flies as it stands. I think it's just one of those awkward bits of contact, isn't it? Yeah, that whole thing about he's on the inside and it's his corner or whatever is a load of rubbish. That doesn't come into effect in my mind anyway. It's more about the contact that was made. I don't think Gilbert really deviated from his line very much to instigate that contact. It's a pretty unfortunate way the cars bounced off each other there, and unfortunately Caruana ballooned over to the other side of the road, and not a lot he could have done at that point, but I'm not sure how much more Gilbert could have done either.
No, certainly not. Just looking at the presently updated standings, it would be Remy Gilbert leading the championship by now 10 points over Caruana and Moore. I know we've got a long way to go in this challenge, but I know there's 10 more races, but it's always one of those ones to keep a close eye on, because this can change quite a lot. And Caruana, I think he needs to keep his nose clean until the end of the race, because I think there might be a few penalties ahead of him. Not necessarily from Remy, but I don't want to talk about that one because I don't really know where that one would go. But I think potentially like Iggy Smith, for example, I might have a penalty to call upon for the incident between himself, Goga Bowdy, and then of course Chadwick and Moore. So there might be those points to gain back. There's no point in having the red mist take over, doing some silliness, and then getting a penalty yourself.
No. That is very true. I think that's a real balance to strike now for Remy Gilbert at the front. And I'm not entirely sure how willing he is going to be to properly attack here. You know, he was pretty tentative early. He's certainly not going to do it for a while. I know there's only 6 minutes to go, but he will leave it another couple of laps, I would say. And then, if he is going to go for this victory, then it will be, yeah, as I say, towards the latter portion, and it will be just toned back slightly, because, as I say, this would be a nice little championship lead to have, considering he's been not quite as quick even as his team.
Really hammer home this championship lead. And also, at the moment, by the way, 4 consecutive podiums for Remy Gilbert, which is crazy.
Yeah, it would be, if he can hold on to this. It would be very impressive as well, considering the reverse grids that we do have in this series, and sometimes they're a lot more numerous than the reverse grid that we've had here tonight, which has not had a big effect on the racing. Although, yeah, some would say that's probably a good thing for the field. I don't know. I think it's been 2 good races either way. But the thing is that Leo Brown is only really in that championship conversation if he were to go on to win this race, and also because of his top 5 finish in race 1 as well. From what Caruana knows, at least I would think at this stage, he will have seen the championship standings at the start of the day. He wouldn't have looked at them between the 2 races, I would imagine, or worked out what they were. And to be honest, Leo Brown wouldn't have featured in his big names to worry about. So I do wonder whether, yes, Brown would be very much a contender if this result comes off, but will Gilbert know that? Not 100% sure.
I think they've got to just look at it and think, right, we've got 3 final laps left to do here around the Snetterton 300 circuit. Let's just go on the attack and have a cracking battle. Make sure, by the way, not to hit each other. Let's just keep it on the road and score some decent points. 3 minutes and 40 seconds left to go, 3 laps left. The battle for the race lead, Leo Brown, Remy Gilbert, the 2 drivers that were teammates directly last season for the Guild Esports team. now sit basically on the other side of the table to each other. Leo Brown and Remy Gilbert. This time it is Brown ahead, who's looking for another victory. Remy Gilbert looking for his first victory of the season. It would be 4 consecutive podiums. Leo Brown looking for his first victory of the season as well. And behind all that, an intense fight for the podium. Matt Caruana trying to return to the podium, trying to return to the as close to the top of the championship as he can get. For the likes of Iggy Smith, the first podium for Standard Designers, a return to the podium for the first time since 2023.
Yeah, some big stories up and down the field at the moment, but so unsettled as far as who is actually going to make it there in these next couple of months. We just do not know as it stands. Look at this, he bump drafts Leo Brown towards the final chicane. He knows that it's still not time yet, even with 2 and a bit laps to go.
Certainly so. Let's see how it's going to unfold. I think that bump draft is just the key thing of, I'm going to leave this till the last lap, but I do believe that Remy Gilbert will be going on the attack there. So remember this, between the first round of the season, it was Henry Moore leading the race, it was Leo Brown in second, and we were wondering what the conversation was going to be like behind the scenes in this partnership between these two teams as to whether Leo Brown was going to go on the attack. We all thought they would, and he did. He definitely did. He gave it a good go. Was definitely not leaving that much on the table to try and go for the race lead from Henry Moore. Couldn't quite do it, ended up finishing in second position. It'll be the same in this fight as well. There will be a list of instructions on, like, obviously don't make contact, don't do this, don't do that. But you're more than welcome to fight, and they are indeed fighting. Matt Caruana gets past Iggy Smith, by the way, up to 4th position. Could he rescue a podium after that?
It looks like he might well do. I mean, Stanley Delonde is probably going to be the most difficult overtake of the lot of them. However, he is making progress through the field right now. I think it's Smith, the latest of those to go behind Caruana. What a great recovery this is for Matt Caruana, who will be wondering what could have happened if he'd have stayed in that front group with the other two. He'll believe he had a big shot at winning the race here tonight, and he's probably right that he did. But the incident, unfortunately, taking him out of that equation. But capitalise on the points that you can. And that's what he's doing right now. It'll be another podium, his 4th of the season, if he can make this pass in the final 2 laps.
Certainly so. Clips the apex as they work their way back out onto the backstretch for the penultimate time. Standard Designers under pressure. Matt Caruana closing in. Slipstream being used by the high-most steps by EMM driver. And Caruana could be looking for a move here. He looks straight on the inside of Brundle. That's a little bit late for a dive there. Such a short braking zone through the opening part of Brundle, and then you're basically on the brakes until you arrest it at the apex at Nelson. Now through bomb hole they go. There is definitely an opportunity here for Caruana to work his way back onto the podium.
It certainly is. Just, again, depends how aggressive he's willing to be. I think he is willing to be very at the end of this race, considering the trials and tribulations he's had on the way throughout it. He might as well give it a go now. Just 20 seconds left, and there is time for one more.
Certainly so. No look from Remy Gilbert yet. Maybe he is satisfied with second position and doesn't fancy risking it too much. Matt Caruana, though, is risking it, though, for 3rd position. He looked to the inside going into Richards. He might have might be slightly alongside and have a bit of a gap opening up here going into the Wilson hairpin. Sanders Landis out wide. Matt Caruana working his way through. Bit of contact between the pair of them as they work their way up towards the left-hander at Wilson.
Oh, look at him trying to edge him off to the side of the road there at turn 3. And now run round the outside. Very smart from Caruana. He's not going to get much room, but just enough from Delonde, who excellently just ushers him out wide as well. Side by side to Agostini. Dive for the apex, does Delonde. And Caruana will be getting flashbacks. This time he survives on the outside.
Yeah, Iggy Smith as well, closing in. Any opportunity to work their way through onto the podium. Caruana's way out wide. Is he going to rejoin ahead of Iggy Smith just about as they go into the braking zone of Oggies? That might just settle this fight and seal the podium.
Let's see what Remy Gilbert does as well here. Delonde is not out the water yet, neither's Leo Brown. No, he's not going to go for it. Can you believe it?
Settling for 2nd position. I understand that when you're playing in the championship game, the rules of engagement are slightly different. And Remy Gilbert, seeing that 2nd position would be more than enough for him to pull a healthy championship lead over the likes of Caruana, over the likes of Henry Moore, who sees themselves out of the race. Leo Brown will be working his way through that final complex of corners and up towards the line for Brown. It's been a superb performance so far this season. No victory just yet until he crosses the line. It will be a second victory in British Formula 4 Esports, and the 50th race in British Formula 4 Esports goes the way of Leo Brown. Across the line for Drive Lounge Racing, a superb performance. Remy Gilbert behind in second will now become, we believe, your championship leader.
Yeah, Matt Caruana couldn't rescue enough places, I don't think, to take that championship lead from Henry Moore, who will certainly lose it after dropping down the field throughout that race in race 2 tonight. It's still going on back here. Corey Lane going very, very wide after the start-finish line, I believe that was at the end of this race. All the field very, very close to one another, as it turns out, at the finish there.
And Will Chadwick was also able to set the fastest lap, so he'll receive the bonus point for doing so despite not reaching the checkered flag. I believe that's how that one will go. We'll discuss that one post-race. Leo Brown, though, provisionally victorious here in the 50th race of British Formula 4 Esports. Remy Gilbert in second position, Stanley Zalanis in third. Then Matt Caruana, Iggy Smith, Gogo Bowdy, Ryan McAuliffe, and of course Kieran Harding. Then a Perez and top 10 as well, a second top 10 of the evening for the Rocked Red Bull Racing Esports team. Archie Heron as well for Altitude Freem inside the top 10. Shoma Shintani is finally getting something for Williams Sim Racing this evening. Unfortunately, it's been a poor evening for the team. Some big struggles this evening. Rope Kirkabauer will finish in 12th position with Will Redford in 13th. Herman Moreno, at least scoring something for TC Esports with Jack James for the Aztec Racing team. Jonathan Riley and then Connor Jupp. And Pablo Espez and Corey Elaine in 20th, which we saw off the road there right at the end. Gustin Tolashi, Alexander Strabel, then of course Hayward, Wimbley, Matthews, Rose, Malay, and of course retirements for the race. Chadwick, Moore, big retirement from the race. Murdoch would also retire along with Pedro Silva. So some big drama to deal with in the race. And some big talking points to come to as well. We'll head straight down to our podium. We'll catch up immediately with our race winner, Leo Brown, who crossed the line victorious in the 50th race of British Formula 4 Esports. Leo, hello, welcome. It's been a while between victories. Obviously caught up with you a few times on the podium, but a superb drive to victory. Obviously, it didn't seem like you had too much pressure on your shoulders from Remy, who was maybe just waiting for a mistake rather than anything else.
Yeah, it's nice to win again, as you say. A bit long overdue. I think it was the first race I ever did in the championship that I won, and now I'm had to wait this long. So yeah, no, it's nice to be winning again. We had some good discussion with Remy then about how to play it and try and break away, which we did, and it worked really well. So yeah, really glad at that, and also first win for Drive Lounge in the championship, which is really good as well.
Certainly was your first race back at Brands Indy. I think you had 4 podiums between then and now. Obviously, a lot's changed the championship, including you're a proper front runner in this championship. You're right up there in the championship hunt. Just 22 points now behind Remy Gilbert there for Team Bennett. It's all tight at the front. I know it was very early days, but that retirement from Henry Moore's really opened up the door for everyone.
Yeah, once I sort of had seen what had happened to Henry, and then obviously in the first race with a few others as well, I just knew I had to, even if it was to settle for second, just sort of bank those points and move on. Yeah, it's crucial in this championship to keep scoring, as we saw last year. So yeah, that's been my sort of target from the start. And yeah, it's carrying on that way, and hopefully it pays off by the end of the championship.
Again, still a long way to go. Alton Park next. Best of luck there, and I'm sure we'll be chatting to you a few more times this season.
Hopefully. Thank you very much.
There we go. Leo Brown, of course, victorious again for the second time in British Formula 4 Esports in the 50th race. We'll drag in now our championship leader by just one single point. Remy Gilbert, 4 consecutive podiums. Superb effort. Didn't want to go for the race victory, though. I'm sure there was a lot of communication there happening between yourself, Leo. I'm sure Seb Hawkins in your ear as well a little bit, saying not to mess this up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a weird one with Matt. I need to watch it back to just see what happened, but yeah, after that, I mean, we had a gap, and the points was good enough, and so we just kept it there for the end of the race, and yeah, not too displeased with that. So yeah, pretty good.
4 podiums in a row. I would go and have to check all of the history, all of the other seasons to find out who else. There's not many drivers who have done more than 4. I think Luke McEwen's got, I think it was 9. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to keep that one going. You never know how this season's going to the pace that you've got. But not too many drivers have reached that point. It's quite a milestone to get that kind of consistency in a championship so chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I still got to try and get the win. That would be nice as well. But yeah, a third and a second isn't too bad to round off this track. I mean, I had a bit of troubles there last year, so to improve this year is good progress, and just hopefully we can carry it on into the next round.
Yeah, and of course, next round, Alton Park somewhere again. So I think there were some similar struggles. I think it was 4th and 16th is what I've got written down. So very similar results to what you had at Snetterton, which was obviously the round before season. So I guess try and do the same thing again. I have the same results at Alton Park as you did at Snetterton, maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, in theory, should be a decent track. I'm hoping they chuck some wet weather in there, so just to spice things up a little bit. But yeah, what comes, and we'll just have to see how we do.
Certainly so. Well, best of luck when we go to Alton Park, and well, we'll see you then.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good evening, guys.
Certainly so. Going to chat very quickly with Sanders Landers because we need to wrap this one up. Of course, back onto the podium. Stanley, give us a quick summary of that race. A superb effort from you.
To be honest, it was quite messy from me, I think. Starting PT, obviously, I knew I had like a pretty good opportunity to be up there, but into T1 or T2, actually, I just tried something a little bit different around the outside of Chadwick and just went straight on, so it put me right back into the pack. And yeah, honestly, from there, after all of them pulled away, with Chadwick and Henry just having a bit of a scrap, letting the leaders go, we just had to, I don't know, just try and survive, to be honest. And I wasn't expecting Matt to have a little issue with Remy and managed to get back into the podium somehow. So yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's a great return to the podium for you. The last time we spoke to you was when that victory happened back in the end of 2023. Obviously, you weren't in the last season, but a great return, proving again you've still got that form.
Yeah, it's been a while, to be honest. I haven't been as active on the sim as I maybe would have liked to be, but yeah, I just thought, why not? I'll have a little bit of a comeback, got a little bit of free time. So yeah, it's been good so far.
Certainly so. Well, thank you so much. Again, a great podium from you, and I'm sure we'll see some more in the future, Stan.
Perfect. Thank you.
There we go. We've caught up with our top 3. We've had 2 great races this evening. Ewan, very quickly, some thoughts on the evening.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Both championships were excellent tonight from Snetterton. As I said, a circuit that I'm not normally a fan of, but thoroughly enjoyed it tonight. And I'm sure that the next few weeks are going to be very, very exciting as well, as both championships continue to hot up. They've only got closer tonight, which is good news for us.
Next time, we're heading to the Alton Park International Circuit, which causes its fair share of drama. Just 1 point separates the top 2 in the championship. Remy Gilbert, though, leaves Snetterton as your championship leader here in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you to our partners, and thank you to Hugo Luis, of course, Ewan O'Leary, alongside me, Lewis McGlade in the commentary booth. We'll see you in a week's time at Alton Park.